recording.
The sound of this tape sounds so solemn.
It's live streaming. It is.
Worldwide?
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Across the web. What do you
David,
want
can
to
you hear us?
Greetings, everyone. Budget meeting to order. It's 5:30 on Thursday.
This is Tuesday.
Tuesday, 13th?
Uh-huh.
Yes, of August.
Uh-huh.
Right. Okay. Thank you. We have all council members present, as well as department heads with the exception.
Where is Mike?
Construction going on. All right.
Is he coming?
And I expect you to be here. I think he can arrive.
What number are we?
It's probably-
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You just had it open.
All right. How would everyone like to start off? Would you like to continue?
Are we going to continue on where we left off and then go back to the
Yeah.
we want to go back to?
I was going to ask y'all how you wanted to do that, whether you wanted to continue on and go through and then come back.
I thought we formatted to where we listen to everybody.
Yeah, that's what it was, and then do it.
And then the next one, then we make decisions. I think we tried to vote on a few things.
Mhm.
And then we kind of got more information and details that may have swayed you.
Yeah.
Formatted, but let's listen to Carol, listen to Chief, and then we can kind of go back
And go
up.
back and say yes and no.
I agree.
And did you have an opportunity to share the highlights of your budgets?
This is different from what's in the book, Chief.
Yes, sir. I did make one change.
All right. Is it on the handout?
It's on the handout that I just gave out. Yes.
Ah.
Oh, I didn't get one.
You need to sign it.
Yeah, that's under the holiday pay. It went down also.
I recalculated the FICA. Well, that's not. It should be. It should. I had 60,000 in there. I don't know. It changed there, but the FICA last time was incorrect, and this FICA with 600 and what was it before? 639,000 should have been around 60,500. I do not think that is calculated with the incentive pay in it or the other pays.
This figure is not?
Yeah, it's not. Chief, I thought that was going to stay the same. FICA.
You said just leave the numbers alone because it was.
Well, yeah, but that's not the same. Before the number was different than 59.
No, I didn't make any changes to that. That's what it's been. That's what you had sent. Oh, there was a 61,263.
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay.
So should current and proposed be the same?
Excuse
Does
me?
that need to stay the same, Jim?
What?
The FICA?
It does not need to stay the same. The amount you had in there last year is about, between the FICA and the rest of them, about $2,000. So I just left it in there to 61,000 what it was. The same thing that's in your book where he has the FICA and stuff. I calculated for example, the salaries with all of the items that would the overtime, the incentive pay, longevity, the FICA, and it was about 60,800. So we just left in the 61 until council gets through and decide what they want to do with any kind of increases or items like that. It's not that much difference, about $800 difference.
Okay, but we're going to ignore the figures in the proposed because they're lower than this year's FICA.
Yeah, that's correct. That's why
Same with retirement.
the 61,263 this last year, that's really close, okay?
All right, so what are we looking at, John?
So, are we just going to go down line by line, or do you want questions now, or what?
No, I'll go line by line. That's what maybe I'll have to run the questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to get some stuff together. So thanks for waiting. Okay, so on the salary line item, I was originally going to ask for a 3% increase for my men, which was $6,733. However, after doing a salary survey, and if you go to the third page of the handout that I gave you, this is a survey of what the firefighter starting rate is in our surrounding area. Now, I do understand that it's hard to compare us to other cities around us, but this is what we're looking at. These are the places that our guys are going to leave to go to all the places around us. So we want to try and stay competitive with them. As you can see, right now, our current pay rate at the very bottom is a lot less than what the lowest paid department around here is making. So even with the increase that I'm asking for, we're still going to be at the bottom of the pay for the rest of the department.
Is that for entry level, or what is that?
Yes, it's entry level, but we don't have a step program, so that is what you get. As long as you're here as a firefighter, that's what you get paid unless you get any merits or COLAs or anything over the course of the years.
The salaries that you have for the others, do they get like paid insurance, the same exact benefits as we do?
They do. Of course, the insurance is different. A lot of these departments have better insurance, but again, it does include your medical and dental and retirement and all the other benefits that we provide.
And same sick and same vacation and that kind of stuff?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. And they also provide incentive pay and longevity pay to their guys as well.
Well, I think it's important that we're somewhat competitive, so you don't get the people that, I hate to use the word rejects, but that nobody else will take, so they will come to us.
Correct. Last time we tested, about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, we only had 6 people apply here. So that's another thing. If you're not competitive and you're not offering money, they're going to go test elsewhere. They're not even going to bother testing for the
When you
department.
say test, do they do a test like the hose and everything, or just
Yes,
a
ma'am.
paper?
We do an entry written test, and if you pass the written test, you move on to a physical ability test, and then we'll take the time of the physical ability test and factor it in with the written score, and we'll come up with a top 10 to interview. So we'll do our interviews and then come up with a candidate.
Okay, is our hiring criteria the same as everybody else's, more or less? Does every firefighter in the state of Texas or in San Antonio have, I'm going to call it a firefighter degree, where they've gone to school?
So, no, not everybody. If you get on with San Antonio or Houston or Dallas, one of those bigger departments, they have their own academy, so you don't even have to have any experience as a firefighter. You apply, and if you take your written, and if you're accepted, you go through their academy, which is normally about 4 to 6 months, depending on where you are. So they train you as a firefighter.
Jody, are you talking into the microphone? Is it on? Okay, yeah.
So they'll train you as a firefighter in these bigger departments and put you through their academy. The smaller departments, anywhere in Bexar County or any of the smaller departments outside of Bexar County, like us, we do only take people who are currently certified. So they'll have to go to either San Antonio College or Texas A&M Fire Academy, get their certificate and get their EMT, and then they'll be able to apply for us.
What percentage is this bringing it up from 37, 564 to 41, 40? And is that going to be enough to make us competitive, to make people want to work here?
So that's about 10%, and I looked at the numbers, and obviously the more you give us, the happier my guys will be. But I think being at the bottom, and we're looking at about $3,000 less than the lowest paid department in our area, it's a start. If Hollywood Park is capable of bringing these guys up to maybe the middle of the pool, that would be awesome. I think that we would definitely be able to retain our men, and they wouldn't look elsewhere. Especially, I know now it was mentioned that we're looking at possibly getting a two-tier insurance where the guys might have to pay more to actually have better insurance. Other departments, there's a lot of other departments that pay for their firefighter and their family insurance. So, our guys look at that, and I hear them talk about that a lot. That even though the pay is close, we're having to pay more for insurance. So it's almost like taking a pay cut there because there's more coming out. So, I think if we're able to bump it up higher, it would definitely be appreciated by the employees.
What does this bring it, what's the hit if we bring it to 41? Because we're still not really in the ballpark at that point. I mean, I would like, if we could afford it, I'd like to see us go to at least match the bottom one, come in at 44 and a half maybe, or even 45. Yeah, is it correct that Bearable Verde is building a couple of new places out there that they're going to be
Correct.
staffing?
Well, they've just opened one of the fire stations that they were building, and they do have another one that they're building. And so that'll give them 4 stations, and they're looking at a 5th one in the future. But right now they have 3 stations that are currently open. One had just opened, and then they have one that's being built right now.
Mm-hmm. And Spring Branch too, is that right?
I'm not sure about Spring Branch.
Well,
So-
I know that there used to be 100 people who would apply for a position, and then it was down to like 50 people would apply. And I think, did I hear that the last time
We had
had opened, there were
6 people.
6 people and only one was qualified or something?
Right.
That's miserable.
Yeah, it was surprising. It really, even just collecting applications, they start trickling in, and then all of a sudden you just get slammed, and we never got to that slammed point. And it was like, what is going on? And testing day came, and we had 6 people. I think we got maybe 10 applications, and 6 of them showed up.
How many firefighters Bear County can have on staff? Any idea?
I do not know.
Curious as to why, if they're gonna be opening up this station and another one in the future, is the run gonna be all toward that direction, and then we're gonna have a problem retaining at that point too?
No, that's quite possible. And one of my guys did say that they're obviously going to be hiring more firefighters to staff that other station that they're opening up. So,
Competitive, at least to keep the guys.
right. And now I have not heard this personally, but secondhand from one of my other firefighters, they said there are 4 guys that are looking at going out to Bearable Verde to apply as one of the guys at that station out there.
We'll never be the highest paying because of the size of our budget.
Sure.
But, I feel like we need to,
these communities are much larger than ours.
at least competitive, I think.
But technically, we're the smallest community in all this.
So this increase here that you have, is,
They have 14.
is that as a result of what you're asking for as well?
So this increase here is what's reflected in that additional
Okay,
amount.
so what is this increase for this?
So
For the
that
existing,
on page 2, the number that's in the far right column, the year increase, that's just what each person individually, that's going to be what their salary is going to increase for the year.
okay.
So, in other words, this individual is going to get $3,700 more next year if this was to go through what I'm
Okay.
requesting.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure.
So what do y'all think?
I think we should at least be competitive.
Well, let's talk about the rest of what you want.
Okay.
Scratch the fire truck off.
Okay, so if we go down to 522-110 under uniforms, that's $600 is going to be an extra. I put in extra $100 per person for uniforms, and there was a little decrease along with that. So after everything was done with that line item, it ended up being $600 more. So that increase was due to adding $100 to each person's uniform allowance. On the overtime comp, the next line item down, 112. over the past few years, I've had $103,000 in that line item, and I'm not quite sure when this happened, but I requested 103 last year, and for some reason it ended up being 75,000. So I bumped it back up to 103, and then I backed it off to 100. I've implemented a policy where anybody who takes off Monday through Friday 8 to 5, I'm not going to get coverage for them since I'm here. I'll be a fourth man, so we dropped that down to compensate for that, but with pay increases, it's going to go up a little. So I believe we're almost going to be guaranteed to use 95 if everybody takes their time off. So I left it at 100,000 just in case there's even more time that we have to use. Somebody gets sick or injured.
And that actually, I mean, the times like in the last calendar, I don't know if it was June or July, that was in our packet. I think there were 8 or 9 times between 8 and 5 when someone came in, and it came out to like 72 hours or something like that of overtime. So that, you know, technically that could probably be quite a bit lower if you are now filling in. And is that protocol now? Can we say that's official that
Yes,
you're there
I
from
have.
8 to 5?
I have told my men that if anybody requests off, we don't get coverage till 5 o'clock, unless it's weekend. You know, I'm not coming in doing weekends, but I will. If we end up going down to 1 or 2 people here, I'll certainly come in and fill that. But yeah, anytime Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, that someone takes off, I'm not going to bring coverage in until 5 o'clock.
Johnny, I was trying to remember when you mentioned the 75, and is it possible we came up with that number when we were, was it last year at this time when we talked about the switch to the 2-4 from the 1-3? Was it about that time? Did it have anything to do with the way we changed the
I don't think so, because I know for sure I did not drop that number. So
Actually, you did, because I pulled up the budget meeting from last year. It was like July 2 or something like that, and you talked about the 75, and that like 45 of that was guaranteed overtime, and then somehow you came up with the other figure.
that's weird, because that doesn't even match numbers I have on my spreadsheet. So.
Just for council's information, when I calculated the mandatory, and then I used minimum 2 weeks salary, and then I used 1 week sick leave, because some people have 3 weeks salary or whatever, it came out to around between $90,000 and $95,000, whether they used a half a week or 1 week of sick leave. So if there is nobody replacing it, that would be the amount of overtime that would happen, because people are going to take their vacations. They're not going to lose them. And the $45,000 is a mandatory vacation. So 90 to 95 is the amount of overtime that would be in the system if there was no replacements, nobody taking any other time or anything else. Without anything special happening, it would be that much. Maybe more, because some of these guys who have 3-4 weeks vacation would be using more vacation. And to answer another question, when you look at the 2-4 shift versus the 1-2 shift, which is the 2 Kelly shift versus this other one, it comes out to the exact same numbers. If the time is, hours go 113 and 127 for 2 shifts, but if they're done on a normal shift, a different shift thing on time, depends on when the people come in, you'd have 120 hours for 2 shifts on a pay period, and you'd have 96 hours for the 3rd shift. And that's exact same as if you do a 1 shift, 2 shifts, and 1 on, 2 off, or the 2-4, it winds up being the same. The difference between these shifts being one's 96, but one's 113, one's 27 is the starting time. Because if you added those together, divided by 2, you come out with 120. So basically, you get the same amount of hours from the firemen during this period, whether you do the 2-4 or whether you do the 1-2. No,
Correct. It's just divided out differently.
And this goes back to, would it help us to pay out instead of making them use or lose? We pay out their vacation, and yes, some people are going to take their vacation anyway, but a lot of people would rather just get paid out and continue to work. So,
well, I need to look at the vacation and actually work it out for you. I could tell you how much it is on it, because people who have 4 5 weeks vacation would be the ones who would do more of that than the people who have 2 weeks. And I could calculate that number and tell you what it would be.
But we let them roll over part of it, right?
Some, right, it depends. Some do, some don't.
So I'm thinking if we allow to pay out the part that's not gonna roll over,
That doesn't lose.
right, if they're gonna lose it, then we can pay that amount out, cause it's not gonna be gobs, right? If we allow them, what do y'all
Well,
carry over?
no,
240.
no, but even if it's gobs, it still saves us from paying
Yeah, because
overtime.
they're in paid overtime, they'd be paying.
The city saves money if that's what the employees want to do.
Well, if they weren't going to use it, and they don't normally use it all, unless it's 4 or 5 weeks, okay, you're not going to save anything. It depends on how many people are going to do it and what the average vacation is for your employees. Because somebody has 2 or 3 weeks, is going to use near as much as somebody has 4 weeks or more. So that's a determination on whether you're going to save. You can't just take the vacation directly and say, oh, we're going to save this much in vacation. And even if people gave up their vacation and got the pay, that doesn't mean, other people are going to come back in and do other shifts and stuff. So you can't say, oh, we're going to save this much money because this many people are going to do it. The tendency will be for the ones with the most vacation to do it. The ones who don't have that much vacation won't. So it's not going to be a direct savings hour for hour when you pay it out.
But it's kind of a benefit for the employee. Sort of a benefit for the employee to be able to,
Well, they get their money, yes.
yeah.
Okay.
What if that was optioned only at a 2-week period? I mean, you basically 2 weeks. If you got 3 or 4 weeks, we'll do it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Don't let them do it all. Just
Yeah, well, it's going to be that if somebody has 4 weeks and they only want to take vacation 2 weeks a year, you're going to be paying 2 weeks out every year. I mean, that's what it is. But I can't tell you an answer until I look at what vacation they have and do a allocation based on that vacation, tell you what the average would be.
I always think if there's a maximum, in other words,
The maximum you'll pay.
Joe has 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He doesn't qualify for it.
Why?
Well, do we want to keep the guys with the most vacation getting paid out?
I
Get
just
them
feel
to
like
use it all.
anything that can't be carried over, we should be able to.
Well, the only problem I see with the way doing it that, Joe, is that Joe may want to give up and have vacation at all. He may want to give it up, and we're causing him not to be able to do that. So that would be one, where you could save money if somebody took it. It's the same.
An incentive to work at Hollywood Park Fire Department,
They can, anything over,
Use it or lose it.
yeah,
Even
but
if
you
you
can
don't
carry,
carry
it.
for the fire department, you can carry over 240. So if you don't use any of your
Well,
vacation,
and a lot of
you start collecting
city,
more.
well, especially civil servants,
Once you
what
hit
they
that
do is
240,
they
you're gonna lose
accumulate
it
a certain
if
amount of
you don't use it.
vacation.
So you'll always
So when
have
they
that
finally
240
leave
there
or they
unless you use
they
it.
retire or whatever, they get that vacation paid out, but it's maxed at a certain amount. 800 hours or something like that, and a lot of them, when that rolls over, you don't have to pay it out, but because they know they're going to get it at the end, and what that does is allow you to not pay it up front and you pay it at the end.
Did we pay it at the end? Did we pay all the vacation?
No,
when they-
no, you get zero vacation when you leave.
Okay.
Well,
But
I don't know, I'm
technically,
not a
we
big
just
fan of
wouldn't-
Except vacation that you.
Except
Excuse me, yeah.
You do
You
get
get a
vacation.
vacation, you get a vacation. You don't take it, you don't take it. You don't get to carry it over.
You do get
Carry it over. That's already the policy.
You get a
you do get vacation when you leave, whatever vacation you've accrued up to that
Right.
time.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
for what have you accrued. Now, right now, for just regular employees, it caps at 160. It caps out at 240 for
Yeah, but there
firefighters.
should be a max
200
that
for police.
you can't stack up 12 weeks.
No, no, I
No,
agree.
they can only save X amount.
They can only,
Right, and that's fine,
we can only
But-
save like 200 hours.
Right.
And he gets 5 weeks because of his longevity.
Right.
For him to take 5 weeks, he's coming up to his end of his hire date, so he's got like 3 weeks left that he's got to take.
Mhm.
So if you give him,
But that's up to the individual if they want to take it or not.
it's up to the individual, but you've got dedicated employees here who are willing to make the sacrifice to make sure that their job's done. And it's not fair to those guys to say, okay.
Yeah, but they don't have the longevity that he has. I mean, that's the whole thing about being a long-term employee is if you have 5 weeks and you don't take that 5 weeks, well, shame on you.
Well, I think that comes into the issue that we're shorthanded. We've got 3 guys that want to say, I'm gonna take a week. Can you deny them vacation?
Well, I'm just gonna, it may not be right, I will say, I can't speak for,
you know, I see Chief here because I see him, he's right down the hall. And I'm just going to out you, I'm sorry. There are times when he has scheduled vacation because he comes into my office, he goes, hey, I'm going to take a week off next week. And I say, okay. And then I see him here Monday and I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I can't take off. I got guys out and we got to do this, and vice versa. So, you know, we just lose vacation every year because we don't want to be gone and something happen and we're not here. Right. But I mean, we'll do whatever you want to do. We're used to it. So.
And none of the benefits, such as vacation or sick leave, are covered under any kind of federal law. For that's only the hourly wage law and stuff. So, an entity can do whatever, however they want with that.
But if the premise of the whole idea is to get better quality firefighters and get competitive, I think we need to give them something.
You know, it's impressive when you look at the.
Well, that comes in the form of pay.
We are obtaining the majority of our firefighters. You know, that's encouraging and impressive to see the attainment of the majority of the staff.
Okay, well, I guess that's a question we can come back to.
Okay.
When we go through it.
Can I ask the chief something? And this is the first time I've seen this. Do you think there's going to be any animosity because the other employees who are 13 or whatever an hour now go up to 15? Like, for example, you have one here that's Vince Gonzalez has been from 2003, so there's a $3,700 difference.
So what I've
almost
done,
$4,700.
I have a few employees that were like that, and what I've done is on top of the increase, bringing everybody up to the base pay, I've given them a 3% increase on top of that. So there are 3 employees that got a little more of an increase. The people who have been here more than 10 years have gotten a 3% extra on top of the base pay increase.
Is that in here?
It is.
On the far right.
The reason I was looking at Vince Gonzalez going from 42,084 to 43,300.
But he's already getting more, yeah.
Well, but he started in 2003. He's got 9 more years experience than the rest of them.
Well, see, so my guess is the merit raises have played into this.
Correct. Over the
He's
years.
gotten merit raises and some others haven't.
Correct. That's exactly what it is.
Okay,
So, and what we were trying to do was not, turn this into, hey, I'm asking for $150,000 in salary increase. It's, let's bump up base pays and everybody gets a little bit of extra money this year. We're trying to divide it out evenly like we were going to do with 3%. So, yeah, there are a couple of guys that aren't going to get as much as some of the others. But
and I support you with getting in there where we're competitive, with the guy's salary. But, you did say that word that perked my ear. One thing I did realize that as I talk to people here, the chiefs and the head of the department, they're very confused with what being on salary is. Being on salary is you are paid like here where it has your income, Johnny. It has your yearly rate. It doesn't have like an hourly or whatever.
because I'm not hourly.
Yes. Now, it does not matter how many, you're supposed to work 40 hours. Now, if you work 45 hours, you're still paid the same.
Right.
So, when you made the comment, I'm not coming in on the weekends, we're not going to be understaffed.
Okay, so what I mean when I say that is I'm not going to cover whenever somebody's off on a weekend because it happens too much. For instance, let me tell you what happened this past weekend. Scott Rogers is out with, well, I probably shouldn't mention any names. He's out on medical leave right now. And he had went to the doctor Friday, and he was unable to return to work this weekend. So he called me late Friday and said, I cannot come in this weekend. I put out a coverage alert, and nobody took it. So we had 3 people Saturday, 3 people Sunday. Monday morning, I had another employee that called in sick because their child was ill. His wife had to go to work. When she got home from work, he then came in. So I was the 4th guy Monday. But if I would have covered his shift, and if I do this every time somebody takes off and I work a 24-hour shift, I would have been on 57 hours yesterday afternoon, straight, 57 hours, and then would have been back here today. I still have the rest of the week to go, and then I would have been here at 7 this morning, and probably going to be here till 8:30 or 9 tonight. So, do you think that being a salaried employee that's expected to work 40 to 50 hours a week should be working 100 hours or more every week because people are constantly taking off? You want me to cover every shift when someone takes off? I don't think that's fair for me.
Okay, Johnny, I'm gonna tell you something. Since 2006, from all of August 1st till September, the last day, I worked 70 hours a week to get everything done for the end of the year.
Okay, and I do.
I'm not paid a dime more, but I have my job, and it's because I signed up for that job. And when I went through the calendar and stuff, it seemed like there was one day a month that there was a problem with 3. So it's not like it happens all the time. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know the residents paying taxes to have a fire department is not going to be suffer the consequences. And I can handle if we have 4 people here and 2 of them have to go on call and we don't have 4 people to go to a fire. But I cannot handle having 3 people to start off and we're dead in the water from the minute we get here.
Well, we're not actually dead in the water.
No,
I live
no,
less than
I've got
10
the
minutes
papers
away.
here. We are.
I
It's
live less
4
than 10 minutes
2
away.
in, 2 out. I've got the papers here.
Point of order, point of order. We're talking about budgets, and I understand what you're saying. You're saying we need to add staff so that we can have 4 people.
I didn't say that.
Well, you're implying that we're understaffed, and there are legal distinctions between a salary person and an hourly staff. And if you're saying we need to add staff, that's one thing. I think the implication that there needs to be acceptance of 60 to 70 hours a week is unreasonable too. So I would say let's spend a couple more minutes on this, and then let's go on through the rest of the budget. I don't like your agenda here.
Well, I'm sorry, but this has been going on since April, and you've never fixed it. I brought it to your attention. I've had meetings with you. You've had meetings with Johnny and said you like what he's doing. There's a problem. No, okay, council, do y'all not see that there's a problem if we're paying taxes to have a fire department and we can't fight a fire because of it's not manned correctly with enough people?
We don't, now, Johnny, correct me, we don't have to have 4 firefighters every time there's a fire. All 4 don't leave at once. Let me make that clear. I think that's what you're misunderstanding.
They don't leave if it's out of town.
2 leave.
Here in here in Highwood Park, all 4 leave. If it's to Bulverde or Chavano, 2 leave and 2 stay here.
Okay.
I think that the
But to be able to cover all those shifts, you're talking about hiring 3 or 4 extra people. Because what if 2 leave to go to or go out of town and then there's another fire somewhere else and you got nobody here? So I mean
No, that's
really.
not correct, Scott.
I think
Oh, it
she's
is
talking
correct.
No,
about
because if someone goes on vacation or whatever, and they love overtime, they sign up for it. There might be a day that they don't. Johnny, what time did you post that opening?
That's incorrect
12
because he
o'clock
just
on
said
Friday?
that
It was about 4 in the afternoon, but
he
I can
called
tell
in
you,
coverage and nobody called in.
right, nobody called in, but in the
Scott,
past
he
2,
posted it at 4 o'clock Friday afternoon.
When he found out.
When he found out.
All right,
He
but
did-
by then the other firemen have made plans.
That's the nature of
Exactly.
the beast. You're going to have people that call in sick. You can't control that. You can't
And I
plan when
understand
somebody's
that.
going to be
You can't
sick.
punish the firefighter whose doctor said he can't come in. That
I'm
wouldn't be
not
fair
saying
to that
to punish
employee.
him.
Well,
I'm
you're
saying-
implying it.
No,
No,
she's
I'm
not.
not.
She's not saying that at
He's
all.
leaving, that firefighter left us in a pickle. Okay, you're saying, well, that's not right. Okay, that's
I'm
not
not
John's
saying
fault.
that at
That was the
all.
firefighter.
No.
He didn't do
Okay,
that.
I'm going to give you a little scenario that has nothing to do with this city. But when you go to Bill Miller's, those managers get paid for 65 out. Well, they get paid for 40. They work 65. And I don't care. I don't know any of their names. But I can tell you when the tortilla person hadn't shown up, that manager's there making tortillas. And they've never once said, I'm sorry, but we can't do tacos today because we don't have anybody doing tortillas.
Point taken.
Councilwoman Hall, do you think I do not come up here on nights and weekends when we have calls? Do you think I have not ever spent the night here as fire chief when we've needed it to happen? I'm less than 10 minutes away from the station. I'm up here all the time when they need us after hours.
Her
I come
point,
up.
her whole point is, are we comfortable having 3 firefighters on a weekend?
Well, just in the past,
Already nice.
If there's a surprise.
in the past 2 weeks, I've been the fourth guy almost every day now. And there's been 2 times already in the past 2 weeks that we've had a mutual aid call up at Barrel Verde. And myself and the other person left here were covering Hollywood Park. We had 2 people covering Hollywood Park. Now, yeah, there's an option there where I can call Barrel Verde and say, hey, we're not going to provide mutual aid to you anymore because we don't have the manpower. But then we don't get it in return. And with our manpower and their manpower, this department needs their manpower more than they need ours. And, I'm afraid to lose mutual aid. Otherwise, we won't have any firefighters if we have a call.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I have no problem with that, Johnny. Y'all were manned, you had 4 people, 2 went on the call. So 2 were here. Yes, that left us vulnerable. So yes, we do need the mutual aid. I agree totally. But when you start off with 3, and if 2 leave, now you've got 1, and they can't even do EMS calls here in Hollywood Park. I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm just.
So what would you propose?
I don't want. I propose because it doesn't happen all the time. If you've been looking at the calendar, it happens maybe once a month.
Once on the last calendar.
So what do you
where
propose
there
for
were
that?
3 people.
Okay, when it happens once a month, I don't think it's going to kill Johnny to come in and cover.
It's not your call.
Okay, as a council person, I have an opinion.
You're fine, it's fine. You've said it, you've expressed it several times. All right. All right.
So are we all comfortable having 3 people on a shift occasionally?
I'm not.
Are you, if it happens like once a month like it did in June or July, whatever was on our calendar, there's only one time when there was 3 men on. Are you willing to step up occasionally? I'm not saying that I want you to come here for 52 hours straight, but, are you willing to pitch in where you need to?
I am absolutely willing.
he
I
already
just,
does.
Yeah.
I do. Now, I'm not, if, I'm,
Specifically when there's 3 people on duty.
but that,
Because it's not often.
it's going to happen more often. I've already had situations where people have not come in because it's not a full 24. The very first day I implemented this 8 to 5 no coverage, Scott, again, he is out. So Josh called me and said, hey, I noticed that you put 5 to 7. Is that a typo? I said, no, that's the policy now. And he was like, okay, well, never mind. So he didn't sign up because he was leaving at 7 o'clock that morning, and he wasn't going to come back at 5 and work till 7 the next morning because he lives in Poteet. So it's already creating situations where people aren't going to work because they have to leave and come back that next day, or they don't want to not work a whole shift.
And I've talked to
So
other guys who have said it's good for them to not have to work during the day because they have other jobs.
And
They
I have-
come in and sleep at night.
And I have heard that from my guys, but actions speak louder than words. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, I'm not saying I'm not willing to help out when needed. It's just I can't guarantee that somebody's not going to call in sick on a Saturday and I have plans that I can't cancel, or I'm not going to be out of town because I already plan on being out of town. If I'm sitting at home doing absolutely nothing, I have no problem coming up here. But I can't say when or where that's going to happen. I can't guarantee that up front.
So right now we have 12 guys, 3 shifts at 4. We're like status quo.
Yeah.
That's without having anybody taking off, calling in sick or anything. So
Correct.
this says we're going to be short more often than not.
Not
No,
correct.
no.
No, hold on. He did say there's a lot of guys that get vacation. I got sick, the kid, this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but I don't see, this is not going to be 12 guys at 4 shifts complete all the time.
No, because a lot of the guys pick up that overtime. It's just this weekend, apparently they had plans. So last weekend there was 4. Look at the overtime that is scheduled for unscheduled overtime. They're going to get money. They're going to lock up that overtime.
Johnny, how far in advance do they request vacation time?
I think the policy manual states 24 hours on vacation. I have to go back and look at the actual amount of hours, but normally normally my guys are pretty good about asking for vacation well ahead of time. Sick leave is always a last minute thing for them. It's pretty rare unless somebody has a doctor's appointment that they are going to call in sick 2 or 3 days before. So those are the ones that really get me, are the sick leave days.
Over 30 weeks of vacation, just looking at this chart, which almost justifies another firefighter to fill in for the vacation schedule, so it'd be
Well, that's what I'm saying.
consistent staff. Like
And they
I
only
was
have-
saying, and if you're wanting to ease what you see as a dangerous situation, that as a
So Johnny, real quick, they can give you 24 hours notice and you have to give vacation?
Yeah, I
So
have
you
to, unless,
You have no room to try to fill
Is
it.
that in the
Well,
personnel
in the
policy?
personnel
Well-
policy manual, it says that we have to be notified in advance. It doesn't give the amount of hours in advance that we have to be notified.
and I think it says we have to give them off unless
Time to fill it.
it messes with scheduling the personnel, amount of personnel, or
You have the discretion to say, no, operations,
Right.
we can't do it operationally, you need to be here.
yeah. But I mean, if it's every time it's going to drop us down to 3 people, then right now when they put in for vacation, I don't give them off unless somebody covers. I tell them, you can't have off until somebody covers for you. So in essence, yeah, it's scheduling is the main factor of whether they get off or not. And with this new policy now they only have to find someone to cover them from 5 at night till 7 in the morning.
Just take the difference between these two.
With the allowing employees to sell back a certain amount of vacation, it gives him a little bit more flexibility to say, hey, we're so shorthanded, I can't grant any vacation, but they're not going to lose it now.
I see the bigger problem being that you're limited in what you can do.
Yeah.
If you don't have, we don't set it, you gotta have a week's notice. I'll give you 2 or 3 days notice,
Yes.
but to do it in 24 hours, that doesn't give you a lot of time to find somebody.
Do we not have these part-timers? Didn't we have some part-timers?
We do. We have a handful of part-timers, and they very rarely sign up. So all the part-timers that I have work for other fire departments. And if it falls on their scheduled day, then they won't do it. They also have, I guess, work part-time at other departments. So we do. It happens maybe once every 20 times I put out a coverage request, I'll have a part-timer sign up to work it. Paul Tarter, I don't know if you remember Paul Tarter. Yeah, he's part-time with us as well, and he was the last one to work. He worked this weekend. But see, this weekend I had one guy out on vacation, one out on personal leave, and then when that injured employee called in, I already had 2 people covering for someone else that day. So now the pool just gets thin at that point with the amount of people. So even though I have 12, 4 of them are already working that day, including the one that takes off. Now really I'm only down to 8 people that can work part-time. And I have a few guys that just don't do part-time. Honestly, I'd say I got 3 or 4 people that could take most of the overtime here.
And I would bet, and I realize it's not your fault with Scott calling in late, but if you would have known that Scott was not gonna be there Saturday, I would bet Josh that you've mentioned would have stayed over and kept that and worked that overtime, because he was already here.
He might have.
He usually always works for Scott.
But I don't see where that's my fault that I didn't find out
It's
until.
your fault, Johnny. I'm not saying any of this is your
Well,
fault. I'm saying.
But you're
the
saying
guy
I should have been
had
here that
worked
entire
all-
weekend, though, is what you're saying. I should have been here for 57 hours straight between Saturday morning and Monday evening. Is that what you're asking me to do?
No, she's saying you should have found somebody to fill in.
How?
And you don't have to.
It went out. The coverage alert went out. I mean, it's an
Saying
It's an
it does not
automated
happen
program.
all the time. It's not like you're gonna be working 57 hours straight all the time. If Scott would have called in earlier, you would have posted it, and Josh or one of those guys that were already here on that shift would have taken that overtime.
I don't think you can speak for them.
And I would
I
think
see it
that-
all the time.
I would think that if you do come in like that, then you take Monday off. If you have full coverage on Monday, you got 4 guys there on Monday, then take it off.
I had stuff to do Monday, and we've got a truck out of service. We're working on budget. And I was covering for a guy on Monday.
If we look at all the increases in far out town there, that's over $34,000 our base pay is for a firefighter.
Let's
It makes a
move
good
on.
point.
Let's move on.
What time down on that? Other elements.
All right, moving along. 115 longevity. That is exactly what it is. It's everybody gets $120 every year. On phone allowance, that amount was taken from dispatching fee, moved up to phone allowance, and another phone allowance was added. And this is an allowance that we have been paying out of this current budget. It's for one of my fire inspectors who has to use his phone as a hotspot to connect to the tablet to do the inspections. So since he's having to use his data, we started giving him a phone allowance. And so that amount was moved from dispatch up to phone allowance. And that's my phone as well.
522335.
You said something about dispatch. Where was the dispatch, John?
Dispatch is 522384.
Okay, so that was previously included in that, and you're adding the new guy?
I'm adding, Lieutenant Zelnick in on that as well.
Is the dispatching number a little misleading because it's part of the mutual aid with their county?
No, the dispatching fees are monthly fee per radio to be on the system.
That's separate.
Yes. On 52800 under office equipment,
What
Yeah.
about 522338, repair and maintenance vehicle?
I'm glad
oh,
that's in there.
yes, sorry. So again, I guess that was another one. Did I drop that one too?
I'm glad that was in there.
Councilman Truman, did I drop that one on tape too? Because I don't remember that
I
either.
don't know.
I had 14 and,
I thought it was on too, because you implemented the maintenance program.
right, yeah.
Maintenance program, and so I don't know why that looks odd, but.
So that's being brought up.
The 14,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you told me that this covers everything that we're aware of right now, right?
Correct. So where we currently stand is the engine 129 has been through the shop. It's had repairs done, and since then we've sprung a leak in a valve, so that's going to have to go back in. But our Quint 129, the ladder truck, is currently in the shop, and it is having the fuel injection system repaired right now, and it should be ready. Hopefully by the end of this week we'll have that back. So when that happens, the only repair that we are aware of at this time will be a valve on engine 129 that's leaking.
I know you shared with me that there's flexibility on the interpretation of tire wear because they don't need to be replaced because of tread wear, it's because of age. And, right, I think we've talked about that, and literally the date stamped on the sidewall, I mean, would imply that the ladder truck would need about $6,000 worth of tires within 2 or 3 years, whether we do it 2 at a time and we stagger it out, or we, do the front ones because they're more critical or something. I think we talked about this several months ago.
We did, but I also remember when we looked at the code that says when the tire was made.
Yes.
Don't you remember it was like the 53rd week or something? So we were like, what? Yeah. So
Cryptic code on the
it was.
sidewall.
We didn't read it. I don't even know what it's supposed to be, and
Oh,
it was supposed to be the week of the year. So I haven't gotten any information from Siddons, who's doing the preventive maintenance and repairs on that truck, has not told me that I need to put tires on it.
They just dry rot, is that what you're saying? Or they didn't?
But the weight of the trucks, right? The weight of the trucks is more of an issue than they don't get damaged from the sun because they're stored indoors. And
Sitting too long in one spot.
it's more a function. It's just like if you have an old car.
There's actually a state regulation on tires. And I'm sure with the fire
Yeah,
department,
there's
they
part of
have
the
to be
inspection
a certain age.
process. Yeah. So
Then his tires are also inflated at like 135 PSI. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
keep the truck up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Office equipment?
Yep, office equipment, I'm looking at replacing our computer in our day room. It's 13 years old, and the screen's going dark, and it's the operating system can no longer be updated. It's 2 or 3 operating systems behind, so I'm looking at replacing that. Now, that is a Mac. It's the only Mac that we have, and the reason I have a Mac there is because that computer, it's constantly online. Our run reports are done on it, which are online. Our schedule program, the guys do that on there, which is online. If we need to look up prices on something, it's online. Everything we do on that computer, for the most part, is online, and it doesn't get the viruses that a Windows. It's never gotten a virus in 13 years. So I'd really just like to replace that with a Mac. Now, the other ones I have to stay Windows because they have to be on the network and can't use a Mac on the network.
I think this is one that I wanted to see with EDC, right?
I thought it was.
It'll be on the agenda on Thursday,
Is that, this,
the computer.
I think that, was it part of a larger number? Was it an element?
Let me
What are you
look
talking
and
about?
see.
In her request to EDCs, stuff that was put on the EDC, but
Yeah, it's going to be,
I thought it was part of a bigger number.
yeah, discuss and take possible action to provide funds in the amount of $19,430.42 to place security cameras at City Hall and the police department, and equipment project to provide funds for the purchase of equipment including emergency vehicle radios, bunker gear, firecom headsets, gear extractor, gas detector, and day room computer.
Room computer, okay.
No, they're all going to be on the agenda for the EDC. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I guess is your answer.
So I guess that number down there, other machinery equipment, that's all what we just talked about, right? The bunker gear and the washing machine?
Correct. The
gear extractor?
bunker gear, the Firecom headsets, the gear extractor, and the gas detector.
So we're sending all that to the EDC. They meet on Thursday. They'll
Correct.
consider it. If
Yeah.
they say yes, and if they don't say yes, then they don't need to be sitting up there. If
Actually,
they
the
say
mayor's,
yes,
yeah, the mayor's asking them to provide a project fund for that, especially so they can keep on,
and then
keep
then
on
we'll
giving.
know by
Yes.
when we meet next
Yes,
that
ma'am.
that'll be off of there.
So do y'all have any questions on any of those items?
So you're just talking about a 5% increase from the previous?
The total budget? On what I have, I'm looking at 6.1%.
That's with the new proposed rates.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, at the bottom.
My turn? Hoorah.
Want to take a drink of water first?
I got a bunch of them.
What?
So, got a few things here. Hopefully this will help. Get some information, so when questions do come up, we have something to look at. I think I gave you too much.
They had those
In the
at
cave,
bingo.
then.
They had them at bingo on Sunday.
EDC came from?
Thank you.
They're addicting.
I think it did. calculating errors, so.
So what page are we on?
Go to the fourth page in your notebook. It's using Jeff, instead of using the numbers, Jeff came up with, we found not calculating errors. So it'll be the first one, be say Public Works at the top. Okay, so what I'm asking for on salaries is I'd like to increase, Jesse, give him a 3% pay increase. Juan's at $14 an hour. I wanna move him up to 15. I know it's more than a 3%, but it's $1 an hour more for this guy. These guys are out in that heat, working their tails off every day. And I really think that he deserves to be moved up. I'm also asking, so I've got an extra position put on there. And the reason the extra position's on there is Gavin, our code guy, left, so I need to fill that position. But I'm asking for a street seal machine to do crack seals throughout the city. And if you look at the handout that I gave you, on the one that says asphalt and road resurfacing, there's some notes on there that I put down. So the average cost of resurfacing a street is about $200,000 a mile. We have 31 miles of street here.
31 miles of street here?
200,000 a mile?
When you
For
start figuring in-
resurfacing the entire, or cracks?
That's resurfacing, not crack seal, just resurfacing. Okay, so what y'all are fixing to do on Sequoia, Fleetwood, Meadowbrook, that's resurfacing. So it comes up to roughly somewhere around $200,000 a mile. Okay. And the average life of a street in the state of Texas is somewhere between 10 and 12, but our streets don't get used like most streets do. We don't have the traffic, so our streets are going to last somewhere roughly around 20 years. With crack seal, I can extend the life of that somewhere between 5 and 10 years per mile. The biggest problem with asphalt is asphalt cracks. Moisture gets in there, it starts deteriorating the road base, and that's when you start getting potholes, and the streets really start to fail. So if you keep the cracks sealed, then it's preventive maintenance. Your streets last a lot longer. It will cost approximately $800 a mile to keep the streets resurfaced, or to keep the cracks resealed. If I have a machine, it's a roughly a $40,000 investment, and another employee to run the machine. It's a 3-man crew. I have to have a driver, I have to have a guy on the lawn, and I have to have a guy spreading. It's not something that can be gone and you go out and do it for an hour and then you come back in. When you do it, this is an all-day project. It has to be scheduled, and you unload that machine, you take it out there, and you run it all day.
Is it the liquid sealer? You know, that they.
It's a melted.
Sprays out of the gun?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So spread it. We go in and we clean the cracks out. You spread it, and then you smooth it out with it's called a squeegee, and you smooth it out so there's not big bumps. If we own the machine, this is something that my guys can do week in and week out, year round. The only thing that stops us from being able to do it is weather. You can't do it under certain temperatures, you can't do it in the rain. So I did a demo last year where y'all allowed me to lease the machine, and we tried to do it. So we had it scheduled to lease, and then we got some bad weather. And then it got cold. And so we're playing you dodge the weather, trying to get this work done and trying to utilize the machine. Then on top of it, we had equipment failure because it was a leased machine. They came out and fixed it, but in the meantime, the machine's down. So if we purchase a machine that we own, I do the maintenance on it. We keep it in good shape. We can keep these streets, and I have a program where we can do the entire 31 miles of street every year. Every year they'll be completely sealed. The cracks will be sealed through all the streets every single year.
How much time is it gonna take?
I haven't calculated out the exact amount of
What I'm
time.
reading to is if you're doing that year round, is that taking away from other stuff?
Well, that's why I'm asking for another
If you
employee.
got 3 guys running a machine.
It will take away, but with 3 guys, it's not like they're gonna be on the machine every day, all day long. It's about
Is this
4
something
and a
you're
half
gonna do like
days a
once a
month.
week or once every
Roughly
couple of
once a
weeks or
week.
something like that? Or is this gonna be like
It would
every
roughly-
day these guys are gonna be on this machine?
No, it would be roughly once a week. And then, of course, there are gonna be some weeks where we do it, 3 or 4 days out of the week.
Mhm.
Because we had bad weather and we're getting called back up. Or it's wintertime and it's cold, so we can't do it in
Yeah.
wintertime, so we wait for a
I
warm
think
day.
the roads are important, but I just don't want that to be like
Our focus.
the focus.
No. This is just one thing. I want to take this department where we're benefiting the city. The biggest complaint I get from everybody when I talk is condition of the roads. What can you do about the roads?
That's
What do you do
that's
about it?
always gonna be the case.
Of course.
No matter what
So
you do.
if I can bring this to the project in, I'm looking at a $80,000 initial investment roughly, and then a $40,000 annual investment after that. That's the employee. We're looking at a savings of somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000 a year.
You hear the council
Over
make a thing.
30-year
Yes,
period.
I got 'em on there.
Do you realistically think you can do 52 weeks a year?
Excuse me?
Would you realistically think you can do 52?
I won't be
weeks a
able
year?
to do it 52
Which
weeks a year.
machine costs to rent per week?
Well, I hope he's not doing it 52 weeks a year. And he's spending
It
too
was
much time on
the
it.
machine.
Right, exactly.
The machine was 2,300, and then we bought a pallet of material at like 1,400 or something. I think the total cost was 36
So,
and change.
have you rented the machine before?
We leased the machine last year for 1 week,
Okay.
just to see. I want to do a test to see if we can do it.
What was
To
the
see if
rate
it's
for the
cost
week?
effective.
What was the rate for the week, Kelly?
Excuse me?
What was the rate for the week?
I want to say we spent $3,600. I believe is what it was.
Total expense.
Total.
And you did about 2.5, I thought you did between 2.5 and 3 miles.
We did. I don't know exactly what the length was, but we did all the gardens. We did Sterling Browning, and then I think it's Canyon Oak next to Sterling Browning, about half of that.
We drove it, and we kind of measured, we kind of estimated.
It was 3,600 a week?
I
To
believe
rent it
so.
For a week?
I believe so.
So I guess
Problem-
what
the
I'd like to
problem
know
Go ahead.
is if you're renting it for $3,600 a week, how many weeks, actual weeks, do you think you would need that machine?
The problem with doing it, renting it for a week, is then I have to pull all my guys, and we have to be focused on strictly doing this while we have the machine rented.
But you can schedule that anyway.
Anything else it can be scheduled, but in public works, police chief, fire chief can tell you, there's a lot of, hey, the toilet's broke, hey, the air conditioner's overflowing, and we have to stop what we're doing and take.
And again, you're gonna schedule that anyway.
And, excuse me?
You're gonna schedule that anyway. I mean,
Schedule.
that could happen even when we owned it.
Correct, but if we own the machine and, okay,
I guess if you owned it, you had some downtime, you could say, okay, look, we got some downtime, guys, we can go spend 2 days and.
exactly, and that's what my plan is.
That's right.
And that would be, that would be ideal as far as, that would be a good filler for guys that are standing around, twiddling their thumbs, which I'm sure they don't ever do, but if you've got downtime or a time where you can, dedicate that to, I know you need to schedule some of these things.
Right.
Well, could a code person be that person? Because I don't think that we need code full-time. So have someone do code part-time and do that, the other part?
I've been trying that for about the last 2 years, and it's really, really, I think that's one of the biggest problems I'm having with the code is this skill set, public works is this skill set, and trying to get them to mesh is so difficult.
Code is actually supposed to be under the PD, in the personnel policies. It is.
I thought it was fire.
How big is the machine? Where would you store it?
This is, the one I was looking at it's called a 60-gallon. It's a tandem axle trailer. Storage would be a problem, but we can juggle the equipment we've got.
That's not easy to juggle it.
No, it's not. This last year I kept my landscape trailer in my shop, and when we needed to do the shop, we had to pull it out.
Is this machine, is this like I guess the question is, this machine is this like a heavy-duty machine, or is it something that we can work with? Is it big enough for what we need, or is it too small, or is it too big?
No, they actually wanted me to buy a 125, and I think a 125 is too big. I think a 60-gallon fits us. I can keep all materials. So basically what it is you buy a pot and you put bricks and hard material in there and it heats it up and melts it. And then it pumps it through a hose so it can spread it. I actually have one of the vendors has agreed that, hey, if council wants to see a demo, I'll bring machines over to
Yes,
see
have you thought about leasing it? Leasing it. The leasing, they're gonna take care of all the maintenance. We get a contract, we don't have to touch it. Maintenance is expensive on those machines.
I understand that, but the problem with leasing over owning is availability. And
If you lease it for a 2-year period or 3-year, that's a yearly lease.
I can approach that. I have not looked at leasing it for a 2-year period.
For the first year, just to see what kind of time are you actually, how many hours are you actually putting on it?
Like I said, I haven't got a problem. I haven't pursued doing a long-term lease like that.
I guarantee you, like the splash pad, it's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
down.
Well, I mean, anything that's mechanical is gonna break.
Right, so if it was a
And that's
lease,
just a fact of life.
and if it's a lease, you can get them over here, get this thing fixed under their nickel.
So the first 2 years is under warranty.
Well,
I used to lease commercial trucks, and there's a lot involved. It's not like leasing a car for 2 years. I mean, they hit you for every little nickel and dime thing there is, so.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's expensive, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it might be something to look at.
Jeff,
Like you
is
said,
that worth it,
maybe.
leasing as opposed to owning this thing?
Well, I was going to ask Kelly, a lot of the other construction equipment lasts 20 years. What's the length that this machine will last, do you estimate?
They estimated it'd be about a 20 to 25-year life
Yeah.
if it's maintained properly.
I was fortunate to work under, as the city manager, one of the, who was a public works director for Austin for 35 years and retired from there, and learned a lot about roads and different items like that from him. And one of the first things they got when he was there was a crack seal machine. The second thing was a paver, because he actually gives seminars and stuff and talks all over the country. And what he does is he has all the graphs that show how a road goes. And if it lasts that long, and if you can just keep it, do natural maintenance on the regular maintenance stuff like that, I think it would be beneficial because they bought one that cost like $125,000. I mean, the machines are, and they still made money. And when he talks about a mile, he's talking about a lane mile all the way across, a foot across, and that's what they usually go by. And it is very expensive right now. And the reason is the expense goes up and down because it's just when it's in demand. When things are really in demand like it is right now, construction, it costs a lot more money to do a road than it does when it's down. And this way the city can keep it going even. Also, if you want to, and this was one of the council members' idea, but it was like I was saying to you about those fund balance items. This year, we probably won't get a lot of the $356,000 of road done. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if we don't, that money will just flow down to your fund balance, and then you got to go negative in order to get it out. I got to have what I call a loss, but it's not really a loss because you're taking money you have down there. So if any of these items you have on here can be, that you approve, we can purchase them this year, but it has to be in our possession by September 30th. If it's not in possession by September 30th, it goes that.
To clarify what Jeff,
I sound like the mayor.
to clarify what Jeff's saying, we're still planning to spend probably between $350,000 and $550,000 on the 2.5 miles of streets slated for resurfacing right now, and the bids came in today. We're supposed to have tomorrow. They'll be presented. We'll be able to make a decision on a contractor, and with the terms were to start in 10 days, and it's an 8-week project. So that would only have half of it done in this budget year. And so it's a literal, the amount of work.
Whatever the year to date is what goes on this year. But by the same token, when a machine's purchased, no matter when you order it, doesn't matter. It's when we take possession of it. So whatever, and for example, police cars have always been a problem. People would order them in April. Sometimes it wouldn't come in, and they'd roll into the next budget year where people would have to do it. And that's just the accounting rules on that. So Kelly said that, that they could get that in. You know, and it depends on how much is done with the roads, but I can't see more than 50% of the road being done, which leaves like $180,000 that will be just going to fund balance and adding more to the 400 last year and stuff like that.
So the machine that you're looking at, I see you just have one supplier there, or are there?
I've actually got, I mean, that's the one I would choose. I've got others, but looking at the machines, looking at their features.
Not the machine, but the supplier itself. I mean,
Craftco is the only company that sells Craftco machines.
Okay.
And then there's other brands. But this, I mean, my brother used to run the Public Works Department for Kendall County, the Road and Bridge Department, and that's all they use.
Okay.
You know, they're the industry
I
standard.
just don't want it to be one of these situations where we're just going with this one guy.
No,
That's not how I do it.
and it needs to be below $50,000. First of all, I think they're in the state contract anyway, where the prices are set by the state because they do it. But it needs to be below $50,000. Otherwise, you have to go out for bid unless it is on the state list, since we're not members of HGAC or Buy Board or one of those. So he said it's less than $50,000. So if
It's like 41 is where I got it.
then you shouldn't have to do it. But I will check to make sure it's on the state program, which it probably is. Almost all construction machines are, because that means the state's already negotiated the prices on behalf, and the cities can always piggyback on the state contracts and get items like that. And you never are required to go out for bid. People go out for bid anyway if it's on a state contract.
If you look, if you look at I think it's the third page on the Public Works. I had put 70,000 in there because that was originally where the price point was.
Right.
And I started working with
That's
these
why I was
guys,
asking.
and it was, I mean, I got them down to 41,000. That's the proposal that the sheet that I gave you. So I'm working diligently to try to keep the prices as low as I possibly can. But guys, I think this is a win for the city. Chief will tell you the roads tear up his cars. They're rough on computers. If I keep these roads good, everything in the city is kind of like a water softener.
I like the idea of stopping the water from digging down and making the crevices bigger and breaking up the streets.
Yes, sir.
I drive my son's Honda Fit, and there's no springs in that thing.
You feel
No
everything.
shocks, and it's just, I can feel everything coming down Fleetwood, coming down Meadowbrook. So if we can stop the spreading of the cracks and the deep crevices that are happening. I mean, there's parts of Fleetwood, you could stop your car and pick up pieces of Fleetwood in your hand.
I mean, I think if we can extend the life of the asphalt, I mean, 3, 4, 5 years, I think.
I'm
I think
actually-
we're dollars ahead too.
I'm actually estimating that it's probably going to be closer to 10 years. I'll extend the life of the asphalt. Just talking to other people that do this, Public Works over at Castle Hill, Chavano Park, Public Works over at Kirby.
I guess it depends on the condition of the current.
Well, it depends on the condition of our road, but it depends on how much usage we're getting. And our roads don't get hammered like other roads do. I mean, we get regular traffic, but we don't have buses driving over our roads. We don't have 18-wheelers driving our roads. That's what kills roads.
I'll testify, I have an old asphalt driveway, and when I moved in 30 years ago, the neighbors all said, if you reseal it, or seal coat it every 7 or 8 years, it'll last forever if you just keep the weeds and roots out of it, and that's
I
proven
know where you
true.
could probably rent one, machine.
Yeah.
Once we get one.
You may know the staff too.
We'll make sure it's a fair price, though.
It's really it does.
The big
does
point on
definitely
this
extend
is
the life.
we've got to have the manpower to run the machine. So, I mean, I hate doing it this way, but guys, if we buy a machine, we got to.
Yeah, but I don't want to have an extra guy I don't want to hire an extra guy just because we're going to run the machine.
No. I'm running
10 hours a month.
I'm running 110 man hours on average, 100 to 110 man hours a week just in Public Works. That's me and Jesse and Juan.
110 hours a week on the machine.
No, this is what we're running to do Public Works right
Okay.
now. So we're stretched as thin as we possibly can, and we're falling behind.
Okay.
There's always stuff that I can't get done.
But you're just talking about hiring an entry level.
I'm just talking about bringing someone in that I can school and train and move up. I'm not looking for,
But I don't think that $15 is entry level. $15 an hour. And remember, these are only half of their salaries. This is half of their pay on here, because the other half is where, in venue fund or something?
It'll be, it's in venue fund right
So
now.
what you're seeing here, under current and needed, that's half,
Right?
okay? So, I mean.
Well, we're not paying somebody $30 an hour.
No, but I mean, I think that okay, number one, I'm concerned about having another employee. Do we need a full-timer? Can we have someone part-time? And then code enforcement again. I don't think we need a full-time code enforcement person.
I don't think we need a full-time code enforcement, but I do think for the added burden that the Voight Center and all that stuff has put on Hollywood, because we've never had all that before. You know, this is what, year 2 of having that, and it's just going to become more cumbersome as time goes on, as things start to break. I think it's going to be necessary at some point.
Since you brought that up, what I'd like to do with the code enforcement, because code enforcement, I try to do code enforcement public works, and it just doesn't seem to be meshing. I would like to do code enforcement, take the Voight scheduling from admin and the pool scheduling admin, put that in my department, since we do all the setups and teardowns and maintenance this way. I have the scheduling, and put that in my department, and then code enforcement can be code enforcement and help me with that. That relieves some of the pressure off of Janice and her girls. And
Is the fire department available to do code enforcement? Any of the guys there do that?
We can't even
I mean,
cover 3 men. You were
Well,
asking
during
for
the day.
something to do something else?
Yeah, but hold on.
But when they're here.
During the day, they're not gonna, during the day, if they have time, is that something they can?
No, because their job is to be a fireman, not a code enforcement officer. I would think, right?
We don't have firemen setting people during
Well,
the day.
besides,
do we?
Do what?
We go out, we do fire codes during the day.
How many calls do you get a month for code enforcement?
I think some other people.
Or what do you call them?
I call this by decision.
Probably it's 50 to 60 a month. Oh, yeah. Because it's not just grass and brush, it's, this guy's trimming trees without a permit. It's, this guy's building a deck in his backyard, he doesn't have a permit. It's 513 Rue de Mata. We spend hours and hours and hours and hours in that project trying to get it processed through the court system. It's Fleetwood. It's your next door neighbor decides they're going to build a shed right on the fence line. That's we have to go deal with that. She can tell you. She knows what I'm talking about.
Bad doing is they're here 2 days and gone 4, and they're not gonna be here to do it. I don't have anybody here scheduled to do code enforcement.
You know, and you don't want, I mean, you're in construction, you don't want Joe Blow from Luling coming over here and building a bathroom without any inspections and without pulling permits. Oh, don't say nothing.
You need a permit for that?
This is plumbing.
So, I mean,
Ask Mike about it.
just to get back to task, I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think the machine is an investment.
Well, it's only an investment that can be used, for sure.
Right. So can you get by with a part-time third employee?
I don't think so, but I will do what y'all decide.
Because he's got
I mean, if
2 down plus code plus a new employee.
Okay, so how many people do you want him to have, 2.5? You want him to have less than he started with before Gavin quit?
Well, and do something else with code. Didn't you have a guy who did code on the side that we could contract out? You told me that one time. There was like a retired policeman or something?
No, Robert was doing it in addition to patrol.
No, but I mean someone who wasn't on our force. We talked about it like last year and it never came to pass. But there was someone who did it on the side and we would like just contract with them and they wouldn't actually be an employee of us.
Phillips isn't doing anything.
It's actually not a piece of most cities don't use the PD because it's extremely punitive. It's an officer through your door for tall grass, and we have finite amount of hours for police activity as it is, and then you throw code on top of it, and it is a big job. So my recommendation would be that if you don't want to do it full time, and I'm telling you, it can be a full time job if you do it correctly. If you wanna do it part-time, then you need to hire a code officer, maybe that somebody's working full-time for Kirby or another city that wanna come in.
That's what we had talked about. It was
But
someone
he's a
from
code
the
officer, not a
outside.
peace officer, right?
Okay, but he
But he
did
would-
that for different municipalities or something? I mean, can we?
They're out there if we can find one.
Is
We
there
can
any
post it.
enforcement with a person like that, though?
If they're code certified, there is.
If they're a peace officer, yes.
No, code.
No. Code enforcement
Aren't we
officer.
gonna talk about
Oh.
raising the, rental of the,
What?
Voice Center at some point? I mean, wouldn't that help offset some of the cost of that?
Yes.
A new person?
No.
Well, I will tell you.
Yes, yeah.
I agree with Kelly. Right now, code is a full-time position because I know a lot of people come up here and say, my goodness, my neighbor, they've had that thing going on for years. Why is it taking so long? It's very tedious. We have, I know I can't say too much, but we have two situations right now that as soon as the code department has finished with their stuff, they moved it on to the city attorney. Now the city attorney is working on it, then it's gonna come to us. It's gonna come through our courts, and it's very tedious what we've got to do. We even have software the EDC's paying for, so that we'll be able to do that. So, I mean, it's a lot of hours, I'll just say, if they do it correctly.
Well, would it
I
be
think-
economically feasible to have someone like that come in, out, bring in it, yeah.
If you can find somebody, that's gonna be the hardest thing. You're not gonna find somebody to come in at $15 an hour.
I don't know. I
They
mean,
all have they all have full-time code people.
If that's the approach, that is the consensus for us to look for somebody, absolutely we'll look. I just can't tell you in complete confidence that we'll find it, but if that's the consensus, I don't mind, and we help Kelly with code as well. But big contentious items that come up, like the house on Fleetwood, I mean, that issue takes
I don't think we should be
time.
robbing Peter to pay Paul from the fire department or the police department. I mean, these guys are paid to be police officers and fire.
Is that
You're
something
fireman
the building
not.
inspector can do? He's already on.
I don't think so.
If I have a way to fund it, if you want to, and that would be assign one of the employees as their title would be full-time to the Voight Center, and they could help on the crack seal when they needed to, and that way you can have your code officer and your venue fund, since this person would be assigned to the Voight Center, would be able to fund it.
So the salary and run venue department.
Well, it'd just be in the venue fund, yes, because they spend so much time in the venue fund, half that way. And it is a lot. And those guys, a lot of the other ones go over to the venue fund. So on a crack seal, I mean, it helps everything for the fund anyway. It helps the road, whatever to it. And that is a way to fund it without having to fund your general fund. And the venue fund can handle that money. Because...
There's half of their salaries is coming from the
Oh,
venue.
yes, it is.
And that $15 an hour is the total.
The $15 an hour is, but they make 30,000.
Now, y'all have to remember that, the venue fund's going to be, because that's really where it should be, the Voight Center. That's what the whole thing was built for, to pay for it, and that's where it comes from. Pool, all those revenues will be over there, all those expenses will be over there. Whenever you want to know how much the Voight is costing, you'll be able to look at it with the actual debt in there too, and what it's paying, and you'll be able to see if your cash flow is positive or negative. Right now, the venue fund could fund that, plus fund the Voight Center, the pool and everything, and it would wind up being they have about $100,000 left over. And that's just right now, and sales tax is going up.
Pay the bond?
Yeah. $130,000. It was $130,000 I had to pay the bond.
I still think we need to raise the rates.
We will.
But y'all will be surprised when you put that in there with the pool and the stuff. And the pool, a lot of people say it should be in public works. It cannot, or recreation, it can't be because the bond's paying it. And you might as well use that because that money is so restricted what it can be used. And this is the first fund I've actually seen where they could say you can move something actually into the fund and let the fund take care of it. And sales tax should perpetually take care of it. Then you're going to wind up having extra money anyway because sales tax keeps going up.
So you're gonna suggest in this budget this year that we move the pool management and all that out of the general
Yeah, but when you move the revenue out, you're not going to lose $100,000 because you had the expenses on there. Kelly and I looked at it. It's going to be very much difference one way or the other because most of the expenses in recreation is Voight and the pool. Okay, now I can't move the other parks maintenance in there, but that's so small compared to it that it's just going to move out, and there's not going to be very much difference between them. Which is good because otherwise you'd be losing about $100,000 in the general fund. So this way it goes and it stays where it should be. So I don't think you'll need to subsidize it at all. What has been happening, people have been subsidizing the Voight Center from the general fund and this and doing these different things. It'll all be in one place. It'll be there. It'll be funded by your sales tax, and you shouldn't have to worry about it anymore, and you should have excess money left over, even with this position. Now, the position at $30,000, what is it, $30,200 or whatever, is really $36,000 with benefits, okay? 31.2. Okay, just the benefits, just the general benefits there. Then you add in the health insurance. You're talking about it's about $42,000 to fund somebody about that, or around 40. The reason is it's higher when the lower pays because the insurance is such a set amount. Okay, but that's what it takes. That fund can handle it if that's what you want to do.
And I understand that I want to answer the code question at the same time. So to simplify it, you're going to pay for the extra position out of the venue fund.
Mm-hmm.
He's keeping
the code position.
Yes. As a
because
code/secretarial
admin.
So that person would go ahead and take on the scheduling and the calendars for the pool, because I know you and I struggle back and forth.
Right.
And so this person will be able to cover this for you without us having to go back and forth. This is the person. Oh, did you have that? It'll be in your
And do
thing.
code compliance.
Yes,
And do-
I think that's a great idea.
The scheduling and then
Yes.
Helps with public works.
Yeah.
Unlike a
That's a
lot
good
of,
idea.
unlike a lot of other funded venues, our Voight Center isn't like the toll road or other things that are money pits. It's a self-sustaining resource.
Right.
And it has an excess and we can use it and it can help us. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I'm for that.
Okay.
Even in 4 men?
Yeah.
Total? Okay, yeah.
So are y'all okay with
Okay. One other thing I want to say about that, your general fund here is going to actually go down the expense because what's been happening is they've just been transferring the salary over. None of the FICA or anything else that goes with it. What I'm going to do is put in here 50%. The system itself, you can put in 50% in there. It'll automatically go. I'll create the accounts. It'll automatically go, plus the FICA, plus half the insurance, plus all of that will also go. Okay. Because all people were doing was just making an entry, half of the salaries, and put in. And that's why, if you looked at this, your FICA was like tremendously high compared to it.
The rest of this, so if you want to continue to go through this. So the next thing I'm asked for is like the fire department and police department is an increase on uniform allowance for my guys. They're getting $500 annually now, moving up to $600. And they can have decent uniforms and be taken care of there. My overtime, I've done a little bit of increase there. We've been running, what I do with my guys is we have weekend setups. We just do a total rotation. Everybody has an event, including me. And we come in and do setup and clean up for the next event. I give my guys the opportunity of, if you worked on a weekend, then you can leave early one day or come in late one day. But when we get short, I just tell them, guys, I'm gonna have to pay y'all for the time.
Will having an extra guy alleviate that?
Sure would.
It'll help some. It will help some, but it's still, it'll keep me from getting to the situation where we're so short-handed that my guys have to be paid all the time. And that's, I mean, I went from $150 to $400 for overtime. So $250 more for my overtime budget.
200 of that will wind up in the other fund.
Yes.
So.
Kelly, is the difference in the uniforms, it's in the landscape printed, not the,
It's under Public Works,
in the landscape one? Okay.
and it says 530-110.
Just to be clear, if we do this, I wanna make sure that when this thing comes up and we approve it, that $72,000 is not $41,000.
That is correct.
No, we're gonna buy it with this year.
And we're gonna buy it this year, so.
So it'll be out completely.
It will be at the next council meeting. It'll have to be on the agenda then, so he can buy it, and he needs to make sure it gets done before September.
There would be time for a demonstration on this machine.
I can have it out here next week for a demo if y'all want.
Can you do about a mile's worth of demo?
If you wanna run one of the wands. It's hot out there.
Steve's retired.
Moving on.
Moving on.
I'm jealous.
So let's see, no other increases on this page. The next page, the only other increase I had is I had to increase my fuel.
What about what's this, man lift?
I haven't got to that page yet. On the page it says supplies at the top. Okay, so the only other increase I have on this page is fuel. We ran over budget on fuel this year. I'm running, 3 trucks plus the Explorer. We did burn gas plus all the equipment we're running.
That's for another truck because you're getting another employee, are you?
No, I don't want another truck. I've got trucks. We'll make the vehicles work.
Sign it.
Okay, last page. So you were asking about, let's see. So the tire, you were asking about the man lift. So if you look at the pictures I sent you.
And the man lift should be 12,000, not 800 for whatever reason. Didn't do it.
So if you look at these pictures, this is the roof of the Voight Center, the very front of the Voight Center. You can actually see some of the tongue and groove has come loose. I cannot get to that. I don't have a ladder to get to it that tall. And even if I did, I don't have a place to put the ladder where I can work and re-secure this. I have to have a piece of equipment to do this. I'm actually going to pull the man lift of purchasing one off for right now, and I'm just going to do rentals.
I think you need to buy one.
Not right now,
Did you decide
because
that
it's not
after
enough.
you got your machine?
Huh? No, I decided that a long time ago.
So we're
That's
taking
why,
it.
if you notice,
Let me throw something
Okay,
in
that's
there
the
too.
rental form here.
if you notice the rental, that's what a rental costs. If they deliver, if I go pick it up, I can knock another $200 off of that price. So we can do rentals for a while until things get to a point where we're doing a whole bunch more maintenance, then I can justify the cost.
You don't need a man.
Okay?
Okay, so
Are you
that's
getting,
all.
is this a scissor one? A scissor,
Can you use inside the Voight Center also?
Yes.
So it's gonna have rubber wheels as well.
So it'd be rubber wheels, it'd be electric.
But then you're gonna have another storage problem too.
Well, hopefully by then, you'll have.
We're just renting this one.
Yeah.
Kelly, it's gonna have to be inside and outside?
Yes, sir.
Because the wheels are different.
You can, they make hard plastic or hard rubber wheels that you can use inside out. I mean, I'm not gonna take it all terrain, but I can use it in parking lots to do the lights, or in the Voight Center, or at the Voight Park to do the lights, or in the Voight Center to do whatever I need to do inside, outside. Be able to use it for painting when we start getting, sooner or later, we're gonna repaint that building. You know, maintenance is a never ending. So, right now, I think renting it is by far fiscally the best way to go.
Was this a Public Works camera that took this picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one in my pocket. And then if you go to Parks and Recreation, I don't have anything new in there. The only thing I've got is we put hail protectors on the ACs at Voight Park. So that's, y'all funded those last year, so that's all.
Wait, where are we?
Excuse me?
On the last
Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
If you go 552, 228, we've already installed the hail protectors. We already installed the surge protectors. So that's going to drop that budget another $6,800.
Cool.
One thing that's in here that you had the budget, these El Porto 1 and 2s, okay?
Which one?
On the recreation, is that what you're talking about?
Okay.
You see El Porto 1 and 2?
Yes, sir.
They're going to Voight, so they're not in there. They need to go away. So that will be part of it. If you look when we move the Voight Center, the winter pool service, the pool management, almost all the things in here except for the small amounts that's left for the parks, the other parks will be moved over also. okay, with the revenue.
Hey, real quick.
Yes, sir.
When does the pool maintenance contract expire? Is it 2 years or
It's a
another
3-year
year?
contract.
Okay, 2 more years?
It's, well, after this, have a year and a half left.
Okay.
And we'll probably look at, if they give us a discount, might approach extending it if they give us a discount, so. That's all I've got, guys.
I'm glad I was able to postpone an opportunity to meet Tiger Sand Creek because I went to the raise and shot. Was that, I haven't heard from him. But I've been reading about it. It's not gonna be an issue with this budget, and, I'm keeping recycling altogether.
They did.
Yeah.
Had to.
It's, like, China's not buying their trash anymore.
China's not buying cartons.
So have we talked to them? We have not talked to them about.
They'll want to, they haven't put a focus on it to the point where we need to convey it to residents to separate the glass, to separate any food stain cardboard, but we're gonna get to that probably. You think by the end of the year, Kevin? By the end of the year, we'll have a conversation, and then we'll have to be shared with the residents, so we get the glass out of the recycling and
Yes, sir.
the food stain cartons and whatnot, so
Well,
they make it something that they can sell.
I think once we get through this budget and things kind of stabilize a little bit, then we can have a meeting with the operations manager, with the president from Tiger. They can explain everything in detail.
Drug car contracts,
Okay.
will enforce and do it.
Well, now we'll be on the contracts budget,
Oh,
contract services. The budgets for the accounts for the Deer Committee are the same. The Deer Committee voted last night at the meeting to keep the same amounts in their budget for this coming year, except for the $12 for unemployment insurance. That's actually budgeted this year. By the way, it went from what, 0.8 down to 0.1. So
Email?
yes, I did.
That is correct.
And the only increase is the municipal prosecutor. That's because they have 2 attorneys coming instead of 1, so it went up $4,200. The special attorney, with what's going on right now, we were like at 16 year to date, and it's been less than that before. So I put 12 in there. It's an increase of $7,000. If we don't need it, it'll just be extra when we come through at the end of the year. And based on expenses for the last 3 years, the building inspector, I reduced it $5,000 because the actual average would be less than that, but I didn't feel good about going below the 45 amount on it. So the total is $611,000, and it's an increase of 1.03%.
Do we ever look at sending bids out to try new people?
To do what? Okay.
Like building inspector, I mean, I know we've had some.
You're talking about attorneys? Okay. Here's what.
let everybody.
In the purchasing law, they have what they call RFPs, which are proposals. They have RFQs, people who you can only look at their qualifications, and once you pick them, then you negotiate a price. If the first one no good, you go to the second one. Oh.
The inspector.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the attorneys.
I don't know of a city that he doesn't do.
You don't know what?
I don't know of a city that he's not the inspector at.
He controls
Because
the inspection process.
they
in
keep
their
on
county.
coming back to him because he's the
Are there other
least expensive in
inspectors
town.
available that do the same thing he does?
Yeah, I think there's a guy out in Livonia that's still doing. He does Livonia and I forgot what other little town around there.
We have a health inspector?
Yes, asking for septic, and he does all
Mr.
Monty McGuffin. He also does
what's his name?
the restaurants.
Monty McGuffin, right?
Mm-hmm. He does half of the restaurants in 1 month, the other half in the other month. It's in your
So did
county
building
tax.
inspector's fee go down because he's not gonna?
No, it went down because of he's paid based on the number of inspections they do. And this year was exceptionally large, and because the last 2 years were substantially below that, I just used it and reduced it a little bit because of that. But this year was really large on it. But he charges us a certain amount per inspection, and what else is the other one? The inspections for?
He does the inspections for everything.
Yeah. Well,
Septic?
Building, rough-in, HVAC,
Yeah.
rough-in, top-out.
Engineering fees?
Oh, that's CEC engineering.
the engineering fees, therefore, where is
But
it?
they're doing that bid right now for the street.
Yeah, that is for the streets. That's what the street is. No, the engineers go in and draw the plans. You get that plan stamp. Then they go out and they recommend, or we're going to go out with we're required to go out and put the advertisement and all to find contractors to actually do the streets.
Okay, so where are we at with all this rigmarole?
Yeah, you know,
We've got time to-
if you make decisions, tonight, or you can send them to me. I will have it in so we have a complete budget by the next meeting, which is the 22nd, when you can look at a complete proposed budget at that point in time.
I mean, is there anything else that we need to talk about other than what we needed to circle back around to?
Here, I wanted to get back to the administration part that was asked about. Okay.
Yeah, he did his own standalone, yeah.
You wanna take a 5-minute break, stretch?
Ask me what it would do. Here's what it would look like. Those things are all about people. That is what I have experience in that I can do.
Gotta put fire and police down here too.
Yes.
We need to talk about
Yeah.
these two, right?
Yeah.
The police?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, here, I brought them. Can you look in the personnel policies thing? It's for the purposes of these personnel policies, the following positions consider department heads, finance officers like you,
Okay,
city secretary, fire chief, police chief,
Yeah.
and the finance director is the department head of the finance department, all employees within that.
You already have one. Oh, thank you.
So I felt like, have y'all seen Princess Bride? My name is Inigo Montoya. My father prepared to die, and he keeps saying it, and the guy goes, "Quit saying that." And that's what I felt like the other day when
You know the
it was separate. I'm like,
What's your analogy?
quit saying that.
on what?
I heard Tom.
No, the personnel policy, to be quite honest with you, it needs to be updated. Some things are contradictory in it, and some of it's from like 2005 and stuff.
God, so long ago.
I haven't got to that part yet, though.
Way back.
I didn't know.
Disclaimer statement? Disclaimer statement?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to get you in a post. We're going back to admin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, for me, I think Jeff needs somebody. Now, whether Janice, did you talk to, is anyone interested?
Not to that point. I don't have an answer.
Okay.
I think you should have somebody. Listen, I'll say it for you. Every time there's an opening, I tell my ladies, there's an opening in another department. It pays more than it pays here. If you would like to go, you have my blessing. Because I want my people to be able to make as much money and stay with the city. And they're not going to make much money in my department.
Did you broach the subject with anybody?
Yeah, I broached it with everybody.
Was anybody interested?
I think, I don't want to say it out loud on the national here because I don't know if it, but a person came to me and I said I thought it was a good idea. A person came to me, another position that was available, and I said, well, I think that's a good idea. You have to decide what you like. So I'm all for it. My only disclaimer I will say is I would like to hire another person to replace whoever leaves me. So I am not shorthanded. That's all. And by the way, since he's doing a standalone, which I think he should be a standalone, please take one and pass it around. There you go. Without
Hey, Janice, how much heat is it going to take off of you to have this new guy that Kelly is going to get take some of the responsibilities?
It'll be nice for me. It'll be helpful, but we will still be
Still in the hole.
you still be in the hole a little bit, but that's okay.
But we would be taking human resources off of you too, so you could take something else on.
Well, frankly, right now I'm taking on grants. If I'm going to be honest, I'm looking through some grants right now on time when I'm not here to see if we can do some things. I talked it over with the mayor. I just didn't want to announce it because it's not a go, yet. So yeah, I'm taking on an extra anyway. So getting HR off of me, which is not much because I don't spend that much time on HR, it still helps me.
Well, I feel like, okay, if you would be wanting to hire someone else, then I feel like you should hire someone with the experience that you need, so you're not having to train someone.
I agree. I think you should hire somebody who has expertise in insurance. HR, yeah, HIPAA. I do.
And they do HR, they do your payables.
I think HIPAA's the harder part. Payables,
Are
you
you
can train
good with
somebody.
that?
I'm not fine with any of it.
What do y'all think? Are y'all good with that?
He's the one that needs to be good with it. He's the one that's gonna have to deal with them.
Well, we
Hey,
should
you
have
know,
to deal with
I mean,
it. Are you
financially, if we
okay
can,
with
if we can
hiring
afford it, I
someone
think
new
we're
for
okay.
Jeff?
Yeah.
It will be,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it has HR.
Yes, I think so.
and well, and people, watch over some things like purchasing. Purchasing's also a dangerous area that these things need to be followed or stuff, because if they're not, when you deal with big contracts like the city's doing now, if it's not followed in certain orders with these bids and stuff like that, you can wind up getting sued by them and stop everything and stuff like that. It's
That's all they gotta know.
none of them are, and the IT technology is down there before, because I've done it before. I'll buy computers for the city at the prices from down places like this, go look as opposed to some, but RX needs somebody to come talk to, or somebody to talk to, because they're going from department to department. I haven't got a bid yet about the changing of the upgrading of the Windows 7 to Windows 10, and they need a focal point here. And I've done that before. I don't do what they do, but I'm been the focal point on it. I couldn't do servers and stuff like that. Part of it they have to do for police is by Homeland Security, and I don't get into that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the normal stuff we're doing, printers, buying this and that, and having a focal, a communication point to where they can come and call somebody and talk to it, alleviates them from walking down from department to department trying to get things done.
And frankly, we use him anyway in admin. We go to Jeff when it comes to our
Jeff, do you
equipment.
wanna do the hiring, or are you gonna, how's that gonna happen?
Well, I'll do it. I've done it before. And I know the places to put it, where to put it, like in TML, all that, to get the people that you need. And
Is it important to have municipality experience, or can it be like from a hospital or another employer?
it needs to be. If I have my choice, it'll be municipality experience because it's so much. But you don't need somebody who has 15 years experience at it. Okay, because that's right. And this way, they don't have looking at, well, this is what my city used to do and all this kind of stuff, somebody who is like 1 or 2 years into the thing, so that they can come in and learn and this city and actually know where things go and stuff like that. And that's important, and that's why it's not going to be, the accounts payable people now, the ones with experience are making a lot of money, but we don't need that, because I'd rather have somebody from the ground up that's not, have some baggage with them have to do.
What are we looking at in terms of salary?
The salary's between 30 and 32.
Are y'all good with that?
Yes.
Okay, let's vote on that. I make a motion or whatever.
You can't.
Well, you can't vote. You can't vote on here.
It's a workshop, yeah. You can't vote.
This is the
You're
budget,
setting
though.
concession.
If you put this in the budget, okay, when you vote on the budget, whatever y'all do here in this workshop goes in the budget, and you're actually ratifying it by passing the budget. Okay.
So, everyone's good putting that in the budget for me to have an employee? Okay, do it.
All in favor, week one?
You can stand
Now,
up.
if we could do, if y'all
Yeah, right.
feel that you're in a position to make whatever other changes there are in here that you want, then we can make it, and I can get the budget together. If you do not, then what we can do is we can have, the meeting on the 22nd and do it, and then I'll do the budget after that, send it to y'all, okay? And we'll have the public hearing, because we're required to have a budget public hearing later, in September, but the budget will be done to that.
I think they'll want to have it.
We're almost finished,
We're
right?
gonna do it
Yeah,
tonight.
your position is now gonna be a head, department head. Who will be under, what departments or what thing will be under you?
No, I'm just a department head. I'm not over any department. I mean, these are responsibilities. That's why I have responsibility now. You don't have an set HR department. And a lot of times the finance director does that. So it's the responsibilities there that will get done. But there are other department heads. I'm not over any department heads. But I answer to council, when something goes awry or isn't right, like that. Okay.
Okay, so are we good with admin and finance? And when you redo the budget, we want finance separate.
Okay, well, the finance will be there, but I want to tell you, there's no way for me or the city secretary to go through and take these expenses and spread them out like that. So what I was going to do is put the person over here with myself, okay, and then go through as I do the expenses during the year. That budget should take for both of them, because we can do the budget amendment if you want to. We don't have to, because the budget goes to the end. But that way we can see exactly what was what was happening,
Yeah, I think you should
and
be
we would
your own-
know.
I think you should be his own standalone with your own person with FICA with everything on there, so that way it's the budget. Yeah.
and see, we can see, and then once we do that, we can split the budget up to where, whatever the percentages are to begin with.
Listen, we can just take my supplies with the same thing.
Okay, what's this?
That's just my budget without Jeff in there. I didn't take anything out for FICA. I didn't take out anything for anything else. And so I'll be down from last year about $53,000. If EDC pays for my software, then it'll be about approximately $70,000. I'm less than last year. That's all.
Getting rid of Jeff is 53,008.
And 16. Be almost 70.
Value, sorry.
Not getting rid of them. I won't be able to use them.
He's priceless.
What is your salary?
He is
60.
where is he? Where are you?
You took me out.
I took you out.
$7.50 an hour.
You're 60.
60, it's
You're
60,
63. He's 62.
62 something.
That way you can give him raises. That way you can. Yeah. That way you can. Yeah. 62,
I
680.
think that we should increase Jeff's salary.
I don't know what Jeff thinks of.
Should we ask?
I felt like I died. Everybody's talking to everybody. What was the question?
Never mind.
No, I know what it was. Okay, what I know what you're talking about.
Say that out loud, baby.
I just want you want me to decide what.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I think that you should have an increase.
So do I. It's huh?
We have an idea of what?
You know, I think you should hit at least 70,000. At least.
More?
From 53 to 70?
62.
No, he's making
62, 68. 62, 6. I'd say 70. But 65 if y'all want.
Small bump in pay if she stayed with us for at least a year, but it hasn't been a year.
Yeah, Derek City Treasury's right here.
Oh, okay.
It's been almost a year.
2 weeks.
Okay. 2 weeks will be a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you should make at least 70.
That's fine.
Okay with it?
What do you think, Glenn? Bumping Jeff to 70 from 62 to 70?
It's fine. Yeah,
Mike?
we deserve it.
Or no, Mike's doing some calculating.
You know, if you, honestly, if you consider Jeff's range of experience, Delaney,
Yes.
please. If you consider Jeff's range of experience is somewhat like a city manager from that perspective. And I would think there are elements.
So let's not call him.
No. I would think it's like a 12% bump that you're referring to here.
That's very close.
And I would think an 8 or 9 first, but still end up under 70.
You get your money's worth, I'm sure.
That's the other part that he's good at.
Everybody has their day.
Don't get too big of an answer.
We can swing it. Maybe we should wait till we finish with the police department and see what's.
Okay, well, pencil that in.
Let's pencil it in.
Put a pin in it.
I appreciate it.
How familiar are you with the operation of a crack seal machine?
Hey, you'd laugh. I have been on one.
So you're looking at
That was a 15%, you said?
Isn't it? Yeah.
72 or more. 12%.
But we started in like, I want to raise too.
You can have his. Hey,
Budget,
whatever percent you want, we'll put in there, okay? Because
I brought the popcorn. Yeah.
Okay, so are we done with
Sustain my
admin and
language
finance then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going back to PD?
And then you keep the 4 people,
Stay on.
take all work from
Yeah.
For your assistant.
Well, that was before his raise. Now it's 20.
And now 24.
you know, it depends on what you can afford. I might be able to get something in San Antonio.
Okay.
I can go by the experience anyway.
Yeah.
Ability to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going by the I'm just going by the numbers
Okay.
from Chad. And I don't, all I have is what you gave me, Chad, is from 2013 to 2018.
Where are you looking?
You looking at this one?
Oh, okay.
Calls. Oh, Janice, you didn't need to do that.
But that's not in the folder. That's what he gave. That's what he gave at the council meeting.
Okay, so you're asking for an extra guy, a sergeant. If I remember my slipping, so.
Okay.
I don't want to move
Brownies?
either way.
Brownies are good. Oh, yeah, we got brownies.
Thank you.
Again. I don't have the numbers for 19 yet. And I don't know if you got them or, you know, what's your.
Year to date,
Yeah.
we're gonna be just a little. If we stay on the trajectory like this, just kind of over 300 households. That's a new high for us.
Over 18? You said you're gonna be over a little.
Some categories are gonna be a little higher, some are gonna be pretty close, but like call for service, we're probably gonna have a few more, outconscious citations, are gonna really be, 460 citations this past month. That's a new high. We have 307 outconscious. That's a new high. That's 300 times the
Right. So, I mean, I'm just looking at the call, this page you gave to us today. I'm looking at the calls from 2013 to 2018, and they've actually, I mean, in 18 they dropped almost 30% from 17. Just, you know, but I don't know what 19 is doing yet. So, and that's, I mean, I'm just looking at it from that standpoint of, you came in here the other day and you said that, you know, the calls are going up, but it looks like they're going down. And it took away a lot. I think a lot of that was, or at least half of that was the city code violations.
There was quite a few code violations, right, that came off that.
Yeah, 368, and then in 18 it dropped to 25. And that's because
Right.
Kelly took it over. Okay,
Right.
and that would be the calls for service. And what are you looking at?
Well, I'm after being able to assess this, because I'm not real quick on my feet, and so, you know, looking over the budget over the weekend, it's just way too high, is my deal, and I don't think I'm in favor of the 12-hour days. That adds $42,000 to the budget. And I don't know, you know, I originally thought I might be in favor of having another guy, but, I don't know that I'm in favor of that. I'm not in favor of adding more telephone pay. I'm not in favor of the bike incentive. It's like we're just being nickel and dimed, and, you know, it's a little here, but good God, then it's $200,000.
Let me ask you, I mean, I know that your reasoning behind the sergeant, you know, bringing an extra sergeant in is to have a supervisor, right?
Yes.
And he has to be a sergeant to be a supervisor, is that correct? Or, I mean,
That's just what we call them, but.
I mean, just looking at the pay for an extra guy, you know, that's quite a big jump to the budget. I mean, is there a way that we can do it where you're just hiring an entry-level guy, or that doesn't help you?
Okay, so maybe, let me try a different approach. So,
I'm just trying to figure out the best way, obviously.
no,
for the city.
you're within your absolute right. You know, I want these questions because if I haven't done a good enough job this year and reporting the needs based on what I'm seeing in my chair, okay, I could show you numbers, but what I can't show you, here's a different perspective. This is how I see it as a department head. We're spending over $100,000 to make sure he has 4 people on. And we've had a long conversation about maintaining a certain amount of personnel here to do the job. A lot of money, that's a lot of money. My overtime budget is $3,200. Now, we get step overtime, but that's recouped by vacation as we do it. By bringing guys in overtime to work traffic only, they don't take calls. And what we're seeing is we have officers working by themselves more often than not. I'm trying to solve that issue.
How long has it been that way?
A long time. And it's, so here is, if everybody showed up every single day, and John has the same problem, and you heard it from him today, if all of our employees show up when they're scheduled, life is great, but that's not what happens. It's not. However, our overtime and our schedules are completely different than his. So I have 9 patrolmen total to cover 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And we get calls from sun up to sundown. Those calls are going to fluctuate, but you don't want one officer on the street on a Saturday day. He gets a DWI, and then guess what? We're in the same boat as he is. Who's answering calls? Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell y'all, is I know it's expensive, but you've committed to a police department, and I cannot continue to put these men and women out here by themselves. Now, if you don't want to do the 12 hours, I've taken it out of the budget. I can concede that. I understand. I want to be a good team player to the other departments and not amass too much more money, but...
Chad, did you consider that 12, did you consider that 12-hour shift change as a concessionary move to make the other person more possible? Wasn't that one of your...
No, it's a mechanism to, 410s, the way we have to overlap our shift, it's hard to manage, okay? When somebody calls in, like my schedule changes every 24 to 48 hours. I have to answer somebody. It's a constant battle. Okay, that's life, okay? That's no problem. We're going to continue to do that. The 12s give you a little easier flexibility because you have 2 people on shift at the same time, at all times. If that one person calls in, you still have the other person here. The way it's designed now is somebody calls in, I have to move somebody up. I have to call them. Hey, I need you to come in. This guy called in sick. Hey, I need you to stay late. They're not coming in. So I'm constantly moving people up and down that schedule, and it's not, it's not conducive to family life, if you will. So it gives them a little more positive schedule every day. They know, look, if this person doesn't make it, I still have somebody. I don't have to move anybody up or down. So it gives me a little more flexibility. But I understand it costs a little more money. Most places do it that way because it works better. We don't. I'm trying to get there. But if we can't, okay. The other problem is I only have 2 supervisors. I know what it looks like on the outside. A detective is not a patrolman, okay? A detective is a specialized officer that has special skills and training. He gets paid at a higher rate. And the way to explain this, to make it maybe better understand, I know on paper it says sergeant. That's a pay rate, not a rank for a detective. Texas Rangers, you might have heard of them. They're sergeants, DPS sergeants, but they don't supervise. That's their pay rank because they're a detective when it comes down to it. Chavano calls them sergeants. Hill Country calls them lieutenants. Kendall County calls them corporals. We call them sergeants. They're still detectives. It's a pay rate. They're not a supervisor, okay? So I only have 2 supervisors. He has 3. 1 lieutenant per shift. I'm trying to get there. We're not there. That's what I'm trying to do. I only have 2 sergeants.
But you have, I'm looking at your staffing thing, and it just looks, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who are in the office, and then 9 who are out. And this looks top-heavy to me.
I don't know what top-heavy looks like on your side of the table. I know what it looks like on my side of the table.
Well,
detectives are in the office.
They're not out there.
Okay, detectives are not out there.
I know,
Okay.
and we have 2.5.
Can detectives be a supervisor?
No.
Can a detective work
I
nights?
just help me understand. I'm not picking on you. I'm just trying to figure out how the lay of the land is.
Okay,
here.
so we're handling about 220 criminal cases a year with 2 guys. There's no way to catch up. There's no way to do them all in a year. It's impossible. It's physically impossible. Okay, a DWI case takes about 3 days from start to finish. Okay, that's 1 case. We have 2 guys working 220, so no,
That's all I need to
Yeah,
know.
no problem. And they can't be and they're not for patrols. I mean, it's not like Janice has a code person or has a permit person. That is our specialized person handles a specific task for you guys, okay? So, now I have a captain who does help supervise. He is a supervisor. Okay, what happens is he's the daytime supervisor during the week, but he can only work so many days, right? I mean, he's my daytime supervisor. Then I have my 2 sergeants who work nights, but I have 2. So if one takes vacation or calls in or is not here for whatever reason, now I'm down to one supervisor. Okay, down to 1. So what I'm trying to do is if I add 1 supervisor, it gives me a little more flexibility to move them up and down, plus work weekends. Because right now I don't have a supervisor for Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So that person
At all?
Not at all on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Friday I'm here and I can cover. That's not a problem. I don't mind doing it. I do it. But that's what I'm looking for. That's where I need the help. I didn't bring my schedules in here because I didn't know I was going to talk about this. That's on me. But I can show you all the holes and what it looks like and for the last 4 months. So I know on paper, I understand what it looks like. I get it. But the reality is you have an officer out here working by themselves. When we're committing resources to ensure we have 4 people on at all times, but you're asking me to put 1 guy out there.
Now, I did look at the calendar, and there are sometimes, like when there's like maybe a 3-hour period where they're by themselves, but I did not see anywhere like they're by themselves for like a whole shift or anything like that, correct?
So there are probably 7 days a month that we have 3 people that cover 24 hours, if that makes sense. So you have a person that comes in the morning at 6, you have a person that comes in at noon, and a person that comes in at 9. So they're here sometimes 6 hours by themselves. Right. And some days it's like that during the week because it's just the way sometimes
But
people
during the
come,
week,
right?
y'all are here.
We're covering 24 hours. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I mean, I'm talking about from 8 to 5. Someone's here. So if it's during the day and they're out there by themselves,
Right.
it's not like they don't have backup. They got tons of backup here, right? So I mean, just looking at the calendar, I mean, the holes that I saw, I mean, they were for brief periods, which, I mean, that's not good either. You know, I mean, there should never be a time when someone is on their own and there's no one else here. Clearly.
But there are going to be times like that, just like with the fire department. I mean, we're just a small little town that is trying to make it with what we have.
Sure.
But we can't just keep adding and adding and adding on, you know, with no checks and balances to it.
I agree.
And I know we have Hill Country Village as sort of a backup, right?
We do.
I have a question.
Mayor.
I was wondering, is it a feasible possibility if one of the part-time patrolmen, instead of a whole new position, if one of those were elevated to a higher position, or one of your patrolmen was, and one of the part-timers became full-time, that's less of a dramatic increase. I didn't know if that has enough hours from going, I don't know, I think you told me that the part-time, there's a limit to how many hours they can work. If that became a full-time position, then it's not as big a jump. Does that help you in any way get to where you want to go?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
You've
I'm
got,
not following that.
you've got 3 part-time.
Hiring one of your.
You've got 3 part-time people on the chart. You
Yeah.
have 3 part-time people on this chart.
Right.
If one of those was made full-time, and maybe someone else was moved up or something, then you're not adding another position, you're elevating one position on the chart. Does that help in any way? That's what I'm asking. If someone is part-time, which means 20 hours or less, and they become 40 hours, does that fill in the gaps that he's describing? I don't know.
I think what he's saying is, in other words, instead of hiring a sergeant at a $54,000 or whatever it is that you have there, is moving somebody up and hiring.
And making one of these guys full-time.
Yeah. Hiring somebody as an supervisor.
So it's still, that's a way of.
What is
Getting there for 30 or 40
But
dollars.
it's the same thing.
What is no? It's not the same thing because unless you rehire a new part timer. you're saving whatever the part-time person is getting paid. When you move them full-time, you're saving that money by not paying them. But if you replace it with another part-timer, then it is the same thing.
We would replace it with another part-time. If we're hiring another officer, you don't need another
Taking out
part-timer.
the part-timer?
Yeah, taking one part-timer out and making a full-time employee.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that's a compromise. I don't know.
I can get rid of all the part-timers. I mean, that's
Oh,
okay.
no. Chad, what he's saying, promote from within to the sergeant, and then when you move a part-timer up to full-time, you're not paying the full-time because the part-timers are earning 20 hours a week or whatever it is, 18 hours a week. So it's only like you're only going like 60% of what it is.
$54,000 hit. We're only taking. Let's say we take $15,000 off of a part-timer. Now you're only doing a $40,000 hit. You know what I mean?
I didn't know if that fills the gaps that I was describing or that you were describing any better. I didn't know if it was a compromise.
I mean, would it be better to? Wouldn't it be better to?
Well, there's only, let me see.
Or do you have somebody?
Or
that
are
can do
This
that?
one won't do
Are
it.
any of your part-timers qualified to do that?
There,
So
that's it.
we have Sam Williams who's retired up.
No.
He's gonna do, the other guy has a full-time job, so he's only gonna be here the way he's here
Or
now, right?
just hire just hire a full-time patrol officer or whatever their entry level is,
Right.
and eliminate
Right.
one of these part-time guys. Sounds like one's going to be eliminated anyway, or a couple of them are going to.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just trying to find a way to
Yeah.
make it work. I don't know of all the options.
I don't want you to be stranded and left without either. I don't like the idea of any of this stuff where people's lives are at safety, whether it's the fire department or you or anybody for that matter. But we can make it work for less than what you're asking for. Let's try to do that instead.
Hypothetically, you got one guy on at night. He stops somebody for DUI. He's done 3 hours, right?
More.
So then who do we got for the city? We're not covered at all.
Kelly.
You know, so what's happened to me this past year, and it may not happen this coming year, and I hope it doesn't, because I'm telling you, we were in bad shape. I lost 3 people this past year all at the same time.
But that's kind of an
It's kind
unusual
of a
thing.
fluke thing, right? And, so we were strapped pretty hard, which killed some of our overtime, but, I hope that doesn't happen this year, so. But I'm gonna take this 84 out. I really like it. I think it gives us better coverage and better options, but. 84 hour schedule. I'll take this out. I'm gonna take it out, and I'm gonna read that. I'm not gonna ask for a position, okay? I'm gonna take this out. Hear me out. I'm gonna take it out. And we'll see how this upcoming year, if it holds, if the officers, if it holds and we don't get hit again, like we did this year, then I'll come back to you next year and let you know, listen, we're doing better or we're doing worse. Or maybe in the middle of the year, I'll let you know. But we're asking a lot. And I know we're asking a lot. And I don't want to be that department head. I don't like asking for a lot. I never have. But I'm going to withdraw this. And I'll let you know how it goes. So that if I haven't justified it to you, then maybe there's not a need. So let me reconvene this year, and I will come back to you next year.
Because you haven't justified it, I think we have a different perspective.
No, Councilman, I'm okay. It's okay.
Chief,
I'll make it work.
the monitoring of the access roads, when is that up for renewal again? January?
Yes.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of more bad news, but I always get vetoed on this anyway. I'm not up for buying another car. I say this every year. I always get overruled. I don't think we need a new car every year, but that's my position.
I don't even know where to go with that. I mean, they're patrolmen. They patrol. They drive cars.
I know, but you say that you use them for 4 years or something like that, and you rotate them, but I just feel like you can get more out of it. I say this every year.
I know you do. I don't know how to convince you otherwise,
And
but
the guys always go, no, you can have another car.
it's not as simple as you could just have another car.
But I'm gonna say, I'm gonna
you buy it, it's the car, the oldest car that you replace is 5 years old by the time you replace it. And it'll be pushing over about 120,000 miles on an emergency vehicle. The idle time alone is almost half more. So you're looking at a car with equivalent to about 160,000 miles. But if you don't want to buy another car,
I don't wanna buy another car.
I mean, for a patrolman, I mean, I don't know what else to say on that front. I can't compromise that. You gotta have a car for them. A safe car for them.
Guys?
I think, if you had to prioritize.
Well, listen, I pulled the position, we're pulling the phone allowance. The only thing in this budget is a car and 20,000 for merit.
Merit?
And that's basically 3% for the officers.
I'm good with that, for sure.
What kind of vehicle do you think you'd end up wanting to get this time?
It's a Tahoe, it's
A
in,
Tahoe?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And the equipment's being proposed to the
Yeah.
EDC. So it's less money this year than it was last year.
Those seem to be a better match for the task than
Full exposure.
Yeah, those things have been in maintenance.
Did we ask the EDC, did we send the emergency equipment vehicle to the EDC?
That's part of the package.
It is,
Like the
okay, and
lights
I knew
all
we did the radios.
Let me ask you something,
Radios.
Chad, is
Everything.
if you do the 12-hour thing and you don't do the additional officer, does that help?
I don't think I can because you gotta have a certain amount of people to pull it off.
Oh, okay, I didn't follow that either. I didn't realize it was both. Good, okay.
Janice, there's no grant money for that.
Do you have any
If that were the
opinions
case,
about this,
let me
Jeff?
tell you what, all the cities would be going for it.
Do you have any
So
opinions
I'm
about
going
it?
for it.
You know, at this point in time, it's council's decision on the cars and stuff like that. But if you change your mind during the year, and you think that it does it, you will be able to use non-budget money this year, but some of the extra money that earned last year that just went into fund balance. That's how a lot of cities are doing it now. They're saying, we pull the capital out of the budget, and depending on how much extra we have, then during the year we do a budget amendment, and we buy what's needed as much as we can get that we actually need. And that way you don't affect your current budget, or you don't affect the tax rate, you don't affect anything.
If there was a Tahoe available before the end of September, that you're saying,
No. I'm talking about even during the middle of the year, because even if you do what Kelly's going to do, you're going to have about $300,000 that just comes through and falls down to your fund balance. Okay, that's money that you'll never use, but you can use for one-time items, not for any kind of operating expenses that are repetitive. So during the year, if you choose to, you could have a set of capital items that the city needs. And if the money doesn't come through like it's supposed to, then you don't buy them, okay? But if it does, you can use this money. It doesn't affect your current budget because you're using money that was earned the previous years, just sitting down in fund balance doing nothing. And that's how cities are actually buying capital items these days, because first thing that goes when things get bad is capital items, so they're always on the back burner trying to get them. And this way, you're not putting yourself at risk by buying a capital item and then running out of money for operations expenses. So you do your operations, and then you have the excess, you buy the capital items you want that you need.
So even, just for the sake of understanding, the vehicle, that's just the car, correct? That's not loading it out. Well, loading it out's another 20, 14?
that's the part that we
16,
have earmarked
15,
for
9, 52.
EDC help
Yeah.
for Thursday. Like they did that once last year.
They're going to buy the equipment to put on the car?
All the kits, all the graphics and everything else that makes it a model. Yeah. They did it.
Oh, last year, right?
Yeah,
But
4 months ago.
that's in this budget, right? Too. I mean, you're going with you're going to EDC tomorrow for this too.
Yes.
It's already it's in the agenda, it's already in there.
Okay, well.
They did it this past year.
I just question. You're buying the equipment to outfit the car that you're not going to buy.
Well, if we buy the car, we're weighing the car now, aren't we? 'Cause you were
Chief,
talking about-
just to be,
I'm in favor, I mean, I know this sounds crazy, I'm in favor of a car over an employee, sounds crazy.
because we rotate the cars out. I mean, we already have one that's obsolete before we've even gotten the other one. I mean, right? I mean, we need it.
Well, and guys, you also gotta remember, I mean, they're driving these cars, these roads are beating them to death too.
I'm just
You
going to
were
say,
Just, you're already getting your machine. You don't have to justify your machine. You can go, you can.
Here's what I'd like to ask for consensus of council. I will come to the actual council meeting when we find out about how much is left. Okay, when we get the auditors out, I should look at our books and do. And I will come to you and I'll state how much money. Like previously, it's a bunch the last 2 years that went through, and it should probably be even more this year. I will bring it to you and I'll say this is how much money that is coming through. Capital expenses can be spent on, and you can make your decision on if you want to spend it, and if you do want to spend it, what capital expenses you want to spend it on. Okay, it will not affect your current budget, and it will not hurt any future budgets because that's money that's just going to go down in fund balance when your fund balance is
Well, and
full.
we're already over on our fund balance. I mean, aren't we at tech support? We have an overabundance that we need to spend because it doesn't look good. I'm just saying.
Do you know how much is in the tax pool, street fund?
About 130,000. Oh, the street fund. Well, there's an audit entry last year that I got to investigate. Okay, that did it. I'm going to call them and find out what's going on because it doesn't look right to me.
And it would be the 2015 or the stuff vehicle?
The 2015.
Oh, yeah. You had to prioritize between the vehicle or the employee and the 12-hour shift. Is there an obvious preference? I mean, if we had to bump up the maintenance and repair budget for the upcoming year, for a year, to see if we could accommodate you staff-wise, is that more helpful and more important to you than the vehicle?
It's all.
You gotta have a car. You gotta have a car.
Well, just because it's a new year doesn't mean that our car's just all of a sudden, poof, it doesn't work anymore.
I mean, trying to,
What happens if one craps out?
they have to buy another one anyway. We'll still have to buy another one. It's not, it's just either a planned purchase or it's not.
But do we want to make repairs on a car that we already know is going to go downhill, or we can just get a new car and keep it in rotation and make sure everything is
That's the
going?
question. How long to load out a car? What's the time frame to load out a car?
When you get funds approved, you order it. We normally can't order it till what, the
We won't get it
January?
in this
Or you
year.
can order
Yeah,
it.
it takes a long time for cars to come in.
No, we won't get the car.
And Sirius got,
No,
order it now and then you don't pay for it. I mean, it's when we take it.
Nope. You order it now.
By the time it gets here,
It goes in the budget, and that's the hardest thing with these cars. They order March and February, and they come in late, past September, and you get stuck with them in the budget, wrong budget.
Almost 8 months.
It takes a long time.
Was that a fast shop or?
No, because they come off a buy board, and they have to order from the factory, and then it has to get delivered, then the equipment gets ordered, and it gets delivered, then you get in line for.
almost
to
like
get
next
installed.
budget time, by
Yeah,
the time we have it.
it
it's
is.
the vehicle.
You got to start ordering it in January or December to make sure you're going to get it in by September.
He does. I know you're going to disagree, but he needs a car.
By the time you get it, the other car is another year old.
Mm-hmm.
So, San Antonio, I'm not saying we're San Antonio, we don't have the pockets, I get it, but they retire their cars at 80,000 period, no matter what the advantage was. We're running ours twice that, by 1 or 2. And
I'm okay with a car.
they start, little things start dying on them. You don't want a prisoner in the back and your car break down on the way to the jail. I mean, it's not Uber. I don't get it. They're patrolmen. It's their tool.
That's your house. Well, I get overridden every year, so don't worry about it. You're gonna get your car.
It bothers me that we're not supporting our people.
I said to leave the car in the budget.
Vote on it? We can't
You
vote on it.
can consensus. You can
I've been listening to Debbie all night. Let's vote on it.
Just hold on, I already got chewed out for trying to vote on something, so just don't.
Well, you know, she'll say no.
So with your employee, can you hire the person now, or do you have to wait until October?
I have to wait until October.
Your budget goes into effect. I'll vote on
What,
it.
you mean, you can start.
But he can.
you need a
But he can
resume
start.
and
He can
everything.
start.
Yeah, it's gonna
writing
take a bit
the resume,
anyway.
getting the check. By
It'll
that
take a long
2
time
months.
to go through it anyway.
Because it's August. You know, 1 month, September.
Background check,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
It'll be that long anyway because September's coming.
You know, is the car going to stay in the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Or is there a car that's in the
If the car stays in the budget, how about this? How about when we find out if we have enough money, I use that money to pay for the car and then pull the car out of the budget. But it's in the budget now, so people can do it, so that you can have money come through next year, so you can do the same thing instead of it going down to into your fund
I
balance.
don't either.
I like it.
I like it, I know what you just said.
Put the car in the budget, okay?
For this year?
And if there's for next year,
Okay.
and if there's enough money that we get from fund, let's go roll the fund balance this year, and that big old whole fund balance, I will use that money to pay for the car, pull the car out of the budget, okay? And that way you have some money next year that's going to go to it, so that you might be able to do it again.
Or hire someone.
Next year, I might not be here next year.
But you'll have a car.
It's the same thing, though, isn't it? I mean, it's the same
We don't
thing.
have to worry
I
about
think we're on the
it.
right track.
For the
You
car.
get a car every year,
Right.
you get 2 cars a year.
And you'll be sitting there like Steve, biting your tongue.
That's right.
I see all the holes over there, buddy.
Okay, so where are we?
Let's sell the golf cart.
I think that's it, right?
Well,
That's about it.
You done?
I like it.
Anything, Steve?
Yes. I love looking at this in a totally different perspective as a homeowner. When I listen to the conversation with what we are doing with the fire department, it seems to me that what we're doing is taking away, on a temporary basis, our fire protection. That's what's happening. Now, if my home starts on fire, let's say there was an accelerant, by the time Bulverde or Castleville's got there, the home would already be ashes on the ground. We need everybody, we all need a full complement with the fire department. And I don't care what it takes to do that, because without it, we don't have a full-time fire department. Now, the automobiles, any of you who don't agree that we should buy.
You badmouthed me about this last year,
Do
so
we?
I'm not gonna put up with
He
that.
said no names, but he's looking at you.
For any of you that disagree with purchasing a new automobile as needed, you're diminishing the efficacy of the police department. They are dependent upon mobility, and without that mobility, we don't have a police department. People live in Hollywood Park because of our fire department and our police department. I'm listening to the whole thing here tonight, and I'm really glad I stayed, because I conclude that we need to raise revenues in any way possible, a lot of them. We cannot sustain this budget with everything that we need. So what are we going to do? That's just a question that we don't really have an answer right now. And I'm looking at it, I just don't, both perspectives, as a former councilman and now as a homeowner. These are questions that are going to come up.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to work on that seriously, because I want to have a 24/7 fire department and a 24/7 police department. So we got to concentrate on solving those problems. Those are problems. They can become problems if it's not taken care of. I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Just want to put Jeff foresight on. You got a glimpse of last year's budget, this year's budget, any foresight on how we get revenue or how we maintain a 4 point, whatever that is?
Well, that a lot of times is going to maintain itself. It was way under budget last year. That's why for the last 3 years have had over $400,000 come through more revenues than expenses. And the cities are in the nonprofit business. They don't try to make a profit. They don't try to lose money. Your job is to try to get as much services as you can for your citizens with a reasonable amount of tax and coming to zero. And right now you have excess money in the fund balance sitting there, earning low interest, by the way, and you could still use probably 50% of it and be safer than most cities are in your fund balance in case something happened on an emergency. Because when emergencies happen, most of the time it's 3 months. You could have 6 months in there and have money not to put operating expenses on, because operating expenses come from the real estate. But you can actually use the money to take care of your capital items, so you're not using a lot of the tax money and all the other money coming in on capital items. And once you get to that point, which would take 2 or 3 years, maybe 4, then you can see where you stand. You don't know what the tax rates will be in. We don't know what kind of economy we'll be in or anything like that. And right now, they really tied down, the state's really tied down your ability to raise taxes. Made larger cities. At first, they skipped small cities last time for sure, but now they put in something for small cities, so it's got a restriction on it too. So what you're going to need to do is, if you use that money and keep your operating expenses going over this next 3 years, you could raise your tax rate small amounts, which is all that's going to be allowed for the tax thing, so you keep at least growing a little bit. Because if you ever get behind, I know so many small cities that got behind, so far behind, they could never get their tax rate up high enough because it's always restricted on the top side, never restricted on the downside. And a lot of them got behind and couldn't catch up for a long time because they cut it from like 30 cents down to 18, 19 cents and could not get
What
back
would you
up.
grade the city health-wise, financial health-wise? What would you grade the city?
The city?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants you to grade us?
Okay.
I know. I'm thinking. Okay. On what, a 5-year scale? On what way do you want me to grade?
Well, just how financially stable are we?
Are we an A?
You are, oh man, it's financially stable? You're an A. Big time, okay? But with the use of it, okay, you're A, like the auditors came in and said, oh, you got, all this money here. You don't need all that money. That's your citizens' money sitting there, okay? You need a certain amount that I'm going to actually do when we actually pass the budget. I'm going to say this amount needs to be amount for the emergency fund. Cannot be touched unless the council declares an emergency, okay? Then the rest of it, you can see how much you have to use on these capital items, to reduce the amount of using your flowing operating income to take care of them. And at that point in time, even with that, I'm really conservative because on a small city, so you'll still have twice as much as anybody else has in there, okay? And you'll be able to use it and keep yourself going for the next 2 or 3, 4 years and see what happens. So you have to make your adjustments.
What about Debbie's money? She always put the 80,000. We putting that back?
No, I did not. In fact, that's some of the money sitting there. That money in that capital fund, you really don't need it because the capital fund shouldn't even exist to be put in fund balance, but to be restricted for capital items. You're going to need this money for roads. Roads are expensive, and like Kelly said, like the person I was working for said, these public works. He says that if you don't take care of your good roads, you can never get to your bad ones. So you have to keep the good roads going. Then you can take time to get the bad ones. But if you let those good roads go, it's gone. And that's what that crack seal will do on items like that.
And when you're
Don't
talking
have a demo
about
next week?
like a small tax increase, it's just,
Well,
I'm not a fan of
the legislature changes it each year. And they have something, those small ones. I only read part of it. And it's where you can go a maximum of $500,000 depending on certain things, and you have to have votes. The larger cities are going to be killed by it because what they can only go to is 2%. And they have to have a vote, and the vote goes, they're going to go up a certain amount, and the votes are mandatory. Before, when you go up to like your rollback rate, you have to get a petition to force a vote. Okay, and even once then, if you went over your rollback rate, all it come back to is that it's turned the other way. Just like school districts, they've always had to do this. A tax increase over 2% will take a mandatory election, so it's going to be expensive. And it's going to be just like a school districts run. Now, the legislatures go up and down, cities may be crunched and all this stuff, and then they'll turn around and do it the other way. Okay, they loosen up, they tighten, they loosen and tighten. Last time, they said any small city who had less than $15 million of property tax was exempted. So everybody's raising their hands and clapping. This time, they didn't do that. And it's very complicated on the one they had. They're still figuring out. You got to love them, right? It's not called the effective rate anymore. It's called the no new revenue rate. That's actually in our state law.
Is that what we did? Is that what we did then? Because we did a no new revenue rate.
Well, it's because
for the first time in like 5 years.
In their defense, a lot of people, I used to get up there and explain it and show what it was, what effective rate is, goes up or down. A lot of people in different cities wouldn't tell exactly what it is, and when the newspaper come out and say, oh, there's no tax rate this year because the tax rate stayed the same. But yes, there is because you paid more taxes. So I guess the state finally tried to put something as simple as they could, okay? So the rate now, it's about that long when you write, no new revenue rate, okay? So next year, we'll be doing the no new revenue rate instead of the effective rate.
Good for everyone.
But it changes up and down. Right now, grade A on the financial. Okay, and even now with the budget you're doing now and all, grade A on it. Okay.
I know nobody likes to talk about taxes, but I mean, eventually,
It's reality.
I just think we should try to look forward the next 5 or 10 years and see. I don't want to be in the hole or even break.
No, you don't. No, you won't. You can't be in the hole. Okay, you're in the hole too long. I've seen this happen to San Marcos School District. State takes over. Okay, they did the school district. As long as you have your emergency thing, you'll never be there. And as long as you moderately keep your tax rate where it should be, you'll never be there because inflation all won't outrun you. But when you get to where, and a lot of times this happens, the city don't do it for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
That's when you get in trouble. Okay. Like this year, it really didn't make that much difference because even if you kept your current tax rate, because the Bexar County Appraisal District didn't raise properties more than 4.5%. We just can't. Man, I can't even believe that. The amount was only like $60,000.
That won't last.
And so you might as well not raise rates on citizens for that that kind of money. Yeah, I know it won't last because there's like 10-12%.
Right.
But I look at that over and over and over. I was talking to the mayor and I said, man, I can't believe this. I had to calculate that rate over and over and over. It's only like 2 cents difference.
So, did we decide on your men's raise?
No.
So what are we doing with that?
3%?
No, they need more than 3%. We need to get them.
6.1, wasn't it 6.1, Johnny?
That was the.
That was the total budget.
Yeah, the total budget, which included that.
It was about 10%, but that still puts us
That's still
several
low.
thousand under the lowest department.
I wouldn't mind seeing some numbers on if we bring them up to like 44 and a half or 45, to where that's like the bottom of what the other companies are doing. And just see how that would affect the budget.
You gotta
Where
raise
is my
everywhere else
stuff?
too.
Which one,
Send it
44 and a
in
half
the
or 45?
You gotta raise them all.
Split the difference.
That's what he gave us today, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think we give him what he asked for.
When you were up, that you said we only had 6 applicants.
10%.
And usually you said we had 100.
What do you do? Pick them all up? I don't have one either.
100, it varies.
Why didn't you cut it down 80%?
Because of the pay.
I'm not sure why people didn't apply.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, that's what I'm making too.
So we matched up and moved up to the second lowest. Obviously, the applicants go up.
The 44, 466, 45.
I mean,
I got it.
my feeling is if you're going to do it, then do it up to the lowest one that's on there.
Oh, wait. You found it.
Go to that, whether it's $500 or $1,000, not to be the lowest. Make a
Some of those Sundays come over.
So damn 10%.
So Jeff, can you?
Okay, you have to be real careful now, okay, because when you say you're going to what, 40, 44? That's a lot, and then you're going to have your 3 above it, the engineers. They're going to say, well, we want ours increased that much, okay, and it's going to be there.
So, just to be clear, this is not just firefighters. I had to bump up the
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody as well. So if I end up bringing the firefighters up to that 44.4,
Talking about 10%.
the
That's
engineers
what it'll
and
be.
lieutenants are going to bump up a little bit as well.
If you move everything up here, it'll probably be 10%, about $64,000.
It's 10% right now.
No, I'm talking about moving everybody back up to the other way. You got to move the lower ones up 10% to get there, so you can keep everybody even. About what it'll be.
10% is a lot.
Well, it's a lot because we cut out COLA and we were doing merit for a few guys here and there. So basically, when we cut out the COLA, we quit keeping up with
Yeah.
the Joneses.
I mean,
and we fell behind.
So the numbers you're giving us, that you have right there, those right there?
Yes, sir.
Are those entry level?
Yes.
Or average?
This is starting entry level.
Okay, so why can't we just leave that at starting? Why do we have to give everybody else money?
well, you can't start somebody higher than somebody that's already been here.
Well, they're all gonna get, because they're all gonna go.
That's where you get in.
Starts from there. The 3 years.
He's not coming up there.
How do you adjust that?
That's why there are actually people who are gonna get less of an increase than others. Like, for instance, this firefighter who's been here 17 years is gonna get a $1,200 increase, where one that's only been here 2 years is getting a $3,700
Why is
increase.
that?
Because he's gotten increases over the years, so bringing everybody to the same rate.
So why did the last one get increases?
Why did the last one get increased? Because at the base rate, he wouldn't have been making as much as he did before. Base rate jumps up to 15, he was already making 15.27.
Yeah, but in 17 years, he didn't get any merit raises and nothing?
He was, but the entry level, this is what happened with teachers. I was a teacher for a long time. The entry level was moving a lot higher than the experienced people were getting, to where once she got that, after 6 years, she was at entry level salary because they're moving so much higher, and never got above that because the demand for the teachers was raising that salary. They never raised anybody above.
We also we didn't do merit increases when we were COLAs at the time, and there were no merit increases. Everybody was bumping up at the same rate. It's only been for the past few years that we've actually done merit increases individually. So although he's been here 17 years, he only got his merit increase a few years ago. It wasn't 10 years ago, because we were doing COLAs then and not doing merits.
So to use this raise, you have to increase everybody.
Correct.
Or you'll have the other ones, the ones who are higher, looking for somewhere else.
By doing this, it's starting our fire guys at 41.3. Well, that our starting for engineer here was like 43. So it's like you just bump them up to within $1,500 of the next thing. So you're gonna have to bump up that next level engineer to compensate and have that spread between ranks.
So at what point does Sigrid get fixed?
It takes time, just like that. With the other thing, it was done over a lot of years where it wasn't kept up with the inflationary things and items like that. So you have to do it. You can do it all at one time, but it's very expensive. Or you can do it over a 3-year period. Whatever it is, you need to plan. If you're not going to do it tonight, you need to plan when to do it, like over 2 years or 3 years, and have set.
That was the benefit of doing COLA, was you never had a year where guys were like, hey, we're actually now making way less than everybody else. Because we were keeping up with everybody.
If you bring it up to the level that's even equal to the next lowest paying department, these numbers are going to, these are just going to be blown out of the water. What you're asking for is nowhere near what the next lowest department is paying.
Correct.
So if we're raising this guy that's normally making $37,000 to $44,000, the guy that's making $46,000, we're going to have to raise him to $56,000. So yeah, that's going to get very expensive.
That's why it gets something to take. It'll take 10% all the way up and down. So it'll take $64,000 to do it at one time, and that still doesn't guarantee you anything on what's going to happen.
Well, is this good for this year? And then
The amount of these raises almost can solve the problem Delane was passionate about in hiring another firefighter. That's another way to look at this. Staffing shortages.
But when you say hiring another firefighter, that equals 3 people, because that's another firefighter per shift.
Yeah.
That will cut down on overtime, because at that point you can go back to 4-man minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I proposed 2 years ago, and it was cheaper to put in the overtime to have me bring in people every day someone took off, to keep 4 people here, because I know there's at least one person doesn't agree with this statement, but whether I'm the 4th guy or not, I'm incident command, and I'm not going to be on that hose line unless I've got a guy in there that's in trouble and needs help. I'll jump on that hose line. But, I have a specific job on that fire ground. So just by having me as the 4th guy doesn't necessarily mean you have a guy there that's going to be ventilating or fighting fire or on the rescue team or the fire attack team. Well, there's NFPA, I know this really doesn't matter to y'all, but NFPA states minimum guys to fight a residential structure fire is 14. And, you know, whether you're the richest department or the poorest department, a house is a house, and if it's on fire, it takes the same amount of people, no matter how much money your city makes, to fight that fire. So, you know, to have 4 guys here and fight a house fire, my hats go off to these guys every time they go and put stop to a fire when they get there. So,
I mean,
yeah,
It cost about what we knew, about $200,000 to put 3 people in. I mean, you eliminate a lot of overtime when you do it, but that's about what it costs. You know, you look at that. You'd have to do it like 1 a year. You could something like that.
30, 40 of the instead of incentives, I mean, they're retaining people pretty well. Look at the tenure, that we can shore it up and make it safer and
You can't do
The
both.
base
You
wage,
can't
they're
do
not gonna wanna come here.
no, you can't.
No way.
so, and back to your question, Councilwoman, sorry,
Right on the tape.
I think at this point, I think this is a good start. I don't think this is gonna be the end of this conversation, and, you know, just like Shad said, we go through a year, we regroup, we look at what happens this year, but I think this is a good start, and I think the fact that everybody in the department is gonna be getting a little something, I think it'll make them happy. And, you know, I've already talked to one of the individuals who is not making as much as others, and he said he's fine with it, just as long as we're working towards bringing our pay to where it needs to be, he's okay with it.
Good to know.
Okay, so do we wanna approve?
Do you wanna vote on it?
Are we in agreement that we're good with that?
With what he's asking for, not.
With what
not
he's asking for.
6.1
No,
percent.
what
3
he's
extra
asking
guys and 20% pay increase.
Tell you what I'll do is I'll put in the stuff I have down here, and then I'll send a copy of the budget to each one of y'all by email. Okay, so you can look at it, and everybody can be on the same page and say, yes, that's right, no, that's not right, or whatever. Okay, so there's no misunderstandings or anything.
Okay.
So we'll have another meeting on the 22nd, but it'll be a brief one, just to make sure. we're on the
Make
same
sure and
page.
everything, and then I'll have publish we're going to publish ourselves. We won't have a tax public hearing, but we'll have a budget public hearing.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're required to adopt the budget, and then instead of having a separate one, we can adopt the top tax rate right after.
So we'll approve this budget in September meeting.
October 1st is when it goes.
You know, if the budget takes place, we'll be approving this next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I still wanna.
No, next week you'll be approved. It'll be a proposed budget, but you cannot approve the budget officially until you have a public
We'll
hearing.
finish it.
Yeah.
Right.
Public hearing,
Does that make
do the
sense?
budget, do the tax rate
Yeah,
done.
you scared me for a
Because our
second. I
council
thought,
meeting's
what?
next week, right, on Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, next
Okay.
Tuesday's council meeting.
At 6.
Oh yeah, that's right.
At
6. I
six.
forgot about
The
that.
notice?
Yeah,
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
6
I
o'clock.
love that, by the way. I'm thinking for the EDs, I mean the deer committee, I love that.
I'm glad the deer committee
Why
moved.
don't you change the deer committee?
But she could.
I sent her.
And everybody's like,
You texted me?
Don't you remember you replied back? You said, I said, hey, how come the deer committee starts so late? Why don't we move back to, and then.
That's right, and I said it starts at 6. Oh,
Right.
my bad, that's right.
Yeah, because you know what?
Well, we changed it last night.
5:30.
We made it 5:30 now.
Yes, I know.
yeah, till 7, yeah.
Okay, so, but I still want us to, maybe not right now, but I still want us to decide about payout of vacations, if they can sell any of it back.
Let me do a calculation
Yeah,
on
because
that,
you know,
okay?
that is an extremely good incentive, okay, for some of these.
I will do it, and what I'll use is I'll use a median in case half the people decide to do it or whatever, okay? And plus the median stuff, 'cause that's as good as you can get, and I have some days for the next budget. We get together, and I'll send it to you and show you how much it is.
So you can ask
How much we'll save.
Pay it out at the end of the year.
Specifically just to
Christmas
save,
bonus.
it's also
No, I
for
know.
incentives.
Yeah. And it's just so variable because people can choose. You may have more than you would want to actually work more and that kind of stuff, which
But
wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't cost you anything.
It's nice at the end of the year when you have that leftover and it gets paid out for
Yep.
Christmas.
Yep.
I've got something else I want to bring up, totally different subject. Holly is planning on doing a dunk booth for,
I'm gonna bring in $1,000 if I
Night
set
Out.
up. I'm just gonna tell you.
Everybody to sign up to be in the dunk booth.
A dunk booth. For National Night Out? Yeah.
When is
So-
that, by the way?
October 2nd.
October,
I believe.
yeah.
No, you don't have anything going on.
I know certain people
Mayor.
would line up to dump me.
And we'll post what time y'all's slot is, so.
On the, it'll be on the
Okay.
So people can time it, right?
Hey, did you close the meeting, Mayor?
No, we didn't speak about it.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.